The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Of the planet of the apes, they say it's well made, but are we just retreading another safe parade? A quiet place, day one, should have killed the score. Just ambient noise, nothing more, nothing more, nothing more. Alien Romulus, the greatest hits they claim, but for modern ADHD riddled stupid audiences, it's a soft remake, the same old game. Damn you, Hollywood! Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, a sequel we didn't need. While Borderlands fan service fails to plant a seed. Civil War, was it a warning or just a scene? Journalists on pedestals, are they as clean as they seem? Damn you, Hollywood! Godzilla at Kong, the new empire, partying with monsters, what a sight! Is it intelligent or just a blockbuster? Taking flight. Then Joker, Foley, a musical stretched too thin. The singing in the rain gag from Clockwork Orange, stretched to 2 hours. Where do we begin? Craven the Hunter, another hero or a villain in disguise? While Kung Fu Panda 4 just squeezes your pinky and says skadoosh before our eyes. Damn you, Hollywood! Late night with the devil, tongue-in-cheek, a horror show we crave. Whoa. While migration takes forever to its destination, like a long ride in a grave. Rebel moon buried alive in snow, a frozen scene, while Sonic the Hedgehog 3 makes the box office green. Damn you, Hollywood! The biker rider's moments, beautifully made, but where's the story? Did the Crow return with a soundtrack in all its former glory? The Fall Guy, action and romance, a PR pitch, not a review. While the top 10 worst movies made us question everything that we knew. A bizarre state of cinema, a dead feeling too. Then Venom, the last dance, where the superhero genre dies, it's true. Wicked, a cultural centerpiece, a musical trend it seems. Dear childless cat ladies, stop singing in the movie theater with all your dreams. Damn you, Hollywood! No spark of genius, just money and fame. A cycle of sequels and then more of the same. Oh my Hollywood, why even try? Wicked here to tear down the lies.
Yep.
Hey, you know what? First of all, give yourself a round of applause for that one, Mark.
Hang on.
Not bad.
Round of
Not bad.
applause. Wasn't that written by AI?
Ugh. All right, so let me.
Sort of.
All right, so let me explain. So hey, Zach knows what I need and what I want. All right, let me. First of all, welcome to Damn You Hollywood. I'm Mark. We have Robert and Alexis here, and we are doing our 2024 year in review. It's getting its own show for the first time ever. We've always attached this as part of the money to whatever the first review of the year is. I think one year it was All Quiet on the Western Front. Last year it was Rebel Moon. We've never really done a top 10 show for the year. We sort of just ad hoc did it during our Violent Night review one time, and just sort of comes up here and there. So we've never really planned it. And then I think last year, Robert and go ahead.
Because we knew we were doing Rebel Moon, which
Mhm.
we were gonna dump on, and then
Right.
there's no money to talk about because Netflix.
Right.
So we just kind of you had said like pick your top 10, pick your bottom 5, and that'll be the back half.
Yeah. So we we generally don't plan like a top 10 show. Oh yeah, and then last year when the show was over, Robert and I are just looking at the what was coming up in 2024, and I was like, let's go over the schedule really quick. I don't want to let you go just yet. So we're like, so for the next hour, me and
Give or
him
take, yeah.
just like sat there planning the schedule. I'm like, oh, this should have just been in the show. Because everything that we planned generated a small conversation.
We had more fun doing that than we did talking about Rebel Moon.
Yeah, well, kicking the crotch would be more fun than Rebel Moon.
Actually, I re-listened to the Rebel Moon podcast earlier today. That's one of our best reviews. We were all on fire with that, and we had some awesome stuff to say, just raking Zack Snyder over the coals.
So I decided that between the amount of time spent on doing a top 10, if we actually put some thought into it, and then the amount of time we spend looking at the studios, and then the amount of time it takes us to preview the forthcoming year and finalize the schedule, I was like, that's its own show. I can't do that and another movie review. So, like, I didn't want to take up time from Nosferatu to also do that, or pick a streaming movie from December to quick do it. So it's getting its own show for the first time. And I thought because it's leading to how we got to that intro, I said to Jesse, I was like, we've been doing a lot with Notebook LM, and I was like, I want to put all of the Damn You Hollywoods from the year and into Notebook LM, and then have it write lyrics. Like, do you think Notebook LM would do that? And he was like, I don't know. Let's see. So
the AI whisperer over there, Jesse Starcher.
Yeah, so he takes my idea, and 5 minutes later, he's like, here's your song. It took a line from every one of your reviews and made it a song lyric, which is why I think it was you who said, "Dear childless cat lady, stop singing in the movies," which is my favorite line of that entire song. But it definitely brought up some stuff we've said. Like, we talked about the score or the lack thereof of a score in A Quiet Place Day One. Go ahead.
The fact that it pulled from our Joker Folia Duo scene, that it's just the singing in the rain, like home invasion and gang rape from A Clockwork Orange stretched over 2 hours.
Yeah, that was hilarious to me. Like I said, when he sent it to me, the first time I listened to it, I was dying laughing. I'm like, oh, this is good. So I'm like, all right, well, I just don't want to just throw it up there. I gotta put all this art together. And so which brings me to that Damn You Hollywood logo that I designed. I had an idea in my head, like I definitely wanted it to be like, what if we were superheroes kind of a thing. And I thought about you, especially Alexis, because like I remembered you saying in one of it's not for the first time ever since I've met you, I'm not insulting you, but you said something and I hung on to it, like a good boyfriend. I actually remembered something you said. And you were like, I put on my dad during the Indiana Jones review from 2 years ago. Now, you were like, oh, I like to wear my dad's bomber jacket, and like there was like a 5-minute conversation we had about this, and that you like to wear it because you thought it looked cool. And I'm like, all right, so like Alexis is Indiana Jones, good, that one's done. And then I was like, Robert just got his black belt. He's karate guy, and then the initial thing was
I look like the world's worst iteration of Johnny Cage, and that is kind of
Hang on, I'll explain why I had to finally stop with the one you saw, because there's like 20 other versions of that.
Oh, I imagine there's a lot that are worse.
Oh my god.
I want to hold on to that comment for when we finally get a trailer for Mortal Kombat 2 and we get to see Carl Johnny Cage. I want to circle back on that.
So
Fair
what
enough.
I wanted originally was what's supposed to be me, bald, long beard, but shirtless, muscular, like my what's in my mind, what I want to look like. But but I was supposed to have like a tattoo on my chest that said "Damn you, Hollywood." Like I wanted that kind of badass.
What you should have fed into the AI for that is like a flesh-colored maestro.
Okay.
The Hulk version, the
Maestro.
version of the Hulk that's Maestro.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, wait, the movie that we reviewed last year?
No. Yeah, no. I the Hulk sub-personality.
I got it now.
Gotcha.
So there was a couple of different iterations of it where I'm just like, leave this, not this. Like, just change this one thing, and then it would change the whole fucking image. But so that's why I finally just gave up. I was like, I'm done with this. So yeah, you're a karate guy. You're Indiana Jones. I'm
Fair enough.
White,
I'll take it.
I'm white power man. Not that kind of white power. Though I am holding a chain. Anyway, so that's that intro. That was a lot of fun to do. All right, so we're gonna start off with our honorable mentions first before we get into our top 10. Top 10 is gonna go 10 through 6, and then we're gonna look at our bottom 5 honorable mentions for that, and then we'll round out 5 through 1. And you can kind of talk about how you put your list together when we get there. But for right now, let's just talk about. I'm gonna pull my list up here. Here's how I did mine. We can each spend a minute, kind of thinking about like your process. So having done this 2 or 3 times now with the movies that don't suck, guys, I've really had to formalize how I select my top 10 and my bottom 5. And I came up with it has to be a combination on a sliding scale of best made, most enjoyed. And it's like 9 and 1, 1 and 9, 5 and 5. That if you're outside of that scale entirely, then you don't make the cut. And then I listed every single movie I saw for the year in a spreadsheet because I'm that kind of nerd. And I gave it either a 1 or 2 or a 3. A 1 makes my top 10, potentially makes my top 10. A 2 is in the middle, it's nothing. And 3 is it makes my bottom 5, or potentially makes my bottom 5. We had to dedicate an entire show to watching streaming movies so I could find 5 besides The fucking Crow. And I,
You did.
Adam Webb. And I just wouldn't let myself put Borderlands on that bottom 5. I was like, this is too fucking easy. I feel like I'm just taking everyone else's lists. So
I can tell you that if I have an honorable mention for my bottom of the barrel, Borderlands falls into that very, very easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great,
you
but
guys
I
are
don't...
going to be.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, you guys are going to be talking about the bottom 10 without me because since I volunteered to be here, I thankfully don't have to watch the worst movies of the year.
It's fine.
That's probably why I come in here a little more positive because you guys have just been weighed down from watching Craven and Borderlands and The Crow and Uglies and Unfrosted. And I come in here all such-sided lollipops because I just saw Inside Out 2 and I didn't have to deal with all that other shit.
You are allowed
What's up, guys?
You are allowed to curate your
Yes.
intake better than we are.
Yeah, we are sitting at a table, and they just lift the table. We're like, oh god, some of this is okay. All right.
Yeah.
So my I have 5. So I think I have like 15 total movies that got a number 1 for me this year. And then Robert, you can go next. So my honorable mentions that got booted out of my top 10. As stuff came out and things were moved around in no particular order. Furiosa, The Fall Guy, Cuckoo, Godzilla, X Kong, The New Empire, and Piece by Piece. The Piece by Piece one kind of depresses me because I really want that to be in my top 10. But Furiosa is probably the best made, but the least enjoyed. I went back. I said before, I went back and I listened to all of our reviews from this year to make sure I remembered correctly what I thought, what I think I remember, which had an interesting effect on my mental state. But I I listened to our Furiosa review, and I remember saying, like, this is a beautifully crafted movie. I was bored through most of it, and then I spent a lot of that review kind of screaming about certain choices that were made. So it's like I can't not acknowledge the superior film craft, but it's kind of a very pretty painting of food, to where this isn't anything I can eat. It looks nice, but it's just something that's going to hang there on the wall, kind of thing.
I thought
go
of
ahead.
Furiosa as a pretty painting of food that reminds you of a prettier painting of food, because when I watched it, I said, this is good, but I really would rather go see Fury Road now.
Yeah, I wish he had.
I
wish he hadn't
would
made
have
it.
happily paid twice as much to go to the theater and watch Fury Road again.
That's the thing. I wish someone had pulled Miller aside and said, "Don't do this. You made Fury Road. Take the win. Go do something. Make another Babe movie. Go do something else." The Fall Guy, it was like the opposite of Fury Road. I really enjoyed it. Not as much as I enjoyed the stuff that stayed on my top 10. But again, I listened to the review of it. I was like, there were definitely problems with it. I think had the Fall Guy maybe come out in December, it might have been a little bit closer to my enjoyment of it. Wouldn't have waned over time. You and I recently talked about Cuckoo, Robert. I said I said it was weird. It was strange. It was very different from anything else I'd seen. So it deserves some attention, but not enough to make my top 10. I wasn't nearly as giddily happy as I was this year with Godzilla times Kong: The New Empire as I was with the first Godzilla versus Kong, where that made my top 10. It was like in my top 5, and I was fucking doing cartwheels.
You had so much joy watching the CGI equivalent of Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg.
Yep, and definitely it was a better match than that one. But yeah, this year didn't quite give me the feels, the joy feels that one did. And then finally, peace. I'm going to say something quite personal. I'm really trying to embrace joy and fulfillment in my life now. I've kind of cut away a lot of like the fat and baggage that I was carrying around, and I'm trying to, when things are pure and joyful, and I want to acknowledge them. I'm not saying everyone's going to have that same reaction to Piece by Piece, but I did, so it gets acknowledgement. So those are my honorable mentions. You got any honorable mentions for your top 10, Robert?
Well, just so everyone knows how I put my list together.
Mm-hmm.
Last year when we did this, I had my top 4, I think, in order. Because you said do a top 10, and I went, okay, what's the best, my favorite best movie of the year? And then I got through the top 4, and then I looked at the other 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, I have no strong feelings about the actual order of these ones. So they're there. You can listen to the review, but they are just, here's the order that I remembered them. Is kind of, or like I transferred them over from one document to the other, so I have it readily available to read. Didn't have a strong opinion on it. This year, I am bereft of a top order, unless you put a gun to my head.
Mm-hmm.
I could order these 1 through 10 if you really made me. But barring that, I have the top 5 of my top 10, and I have the bottom 5 of my top 10. I have a point of delineation, and apart from that, they are in whatever order is best suits the conversation in the podcast that we're about to have. So it's a bit more utilitarian. I wound up having a couple of movies that snuck into this over the course of the last few days when I found a couple of other movies that I wanted to watch that I thought might do a disservice to my list if I didn't view them.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple that got, actually, I found, one of those that I watched, like, hey, everybody's been raving about this. I watched it and I went, you all are idiots, but.
More on that in our Oscar show.
Yeah, that'll wait. But I did wind up removing a couple from my top 10. I wound up pulling out Inside Out 2, which
really
hung on for a while, but just because the rest of the year was so weak, it kept lingering. Like, and if it's one of the last like 2 or 3 that I pulled out, I figure that deserves at least a bit of acknowledgement. And some, Alexis, either of you might have it in your top 10. So if we do, we can talk about it there. But suffice to say, Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2.
Really?
wound
That
up getting
one
the
shocks
axe.
me. Okay.
Much as I enjoyed Dune Part 2, and I did, we were complimentary of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is my top 10, right?
Sure.
This is
Okay.
not just if this were just about, a few more objective metrics instead of with a few more of like my personal reactions and experiences taken out of it, it probably would be there instead of
Mm-hmm.
I could easily swap out at least 2 of my bottom 5 for Dune 2, and I would have no problems with that. So that one got pulled out for me. I debated that, for the record, that would have been like the 10th spot for what for what I'm talking from kind of this. It was either that or one of the ones that will also be in my bottom of my top 5 that I'd vacillated putting on one of these other ones. Like, okay, it's either Dune 2 or this other one that I'm going to pull out. And I had to sit down and kind of go, okay, so which of these would you rather talk about on the podcast? And part of the reason I pulled out Dune Part 2 is I'm 90% sure one of you is going to have it in there. And again, for the sake of podcasting, I'm okay leaving my other one in there at least to bring it up and talk about it.
All right. So, any honorable mentions before you get to your top 10? Besides the 2 you mentioned, Dune 2 and Inside Out.
No, that's pretty much it. Again, I mentioned this to Mark earlier. It's very briefly for the audience. I was left a little bit disappointed in 2024 in film.
Mm-hmm.
Not that everything was bad. We're going to talk about some good movies here. But of my top, I did not watch anything in 2024 that was better than any of my top 4 from 2023.
Yeah. Alexis. Okay, sorry. I thought you
No, you're. I don't need to reiterate that. The
okay.
Specifics there.
Honorable mentions, Alexis, and if you want to go into your 50 words or less into the math of how you got your list together.
I went with what you guys did. I had literally just written down my top 10 in no particular order and then you guys mentioned we're doing the bottom or 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1. I thought that's actually a good idea. And I just sort of scrambled them into what order. So I would like to say 10 through 6 is probably any particular order, depending on how I'm feeling that day. 5 through 1, similar, but a little bit more concrete.
Okay.
I mean, you guys know me. I'm a person who is very easily swayed by her emotions. So it's like if one day I really want an action movie, then I'm going to say this action movie is number 1. If one day I'm saying I want a horror movie, then this horror movie is going to be number 1. I'm very flippant like that. As far as honorable mentions, every year I do like to put out a couple honorable mentions to movies I have not seen yet, but I'm sure would have made it on the list if I had had time. And this year is Anora and Juror Number 2. They are on my list. I really want to see them, especially because I'm like 90% sure Nora is going to rack up some Oscar nominations. So I'm obviously going to need to see it when we do our Oscar show. But I just ran out of time. Juror Number 2, want to see it. Didn't have time. As far as the 2 films that I did see that I went on the honorables list, that would be Heretic and Sonic 3. Heretic really impressed me with Hugh Grant. I did not know he could play that creepy that well.
Hugh Grant makes everything worse, so it's nice for him to lean into being just the worst thing about a movie.
Like I said, I really enjoyed him in this. And Sonic 3, it's very rare nowadays to get a third film in a trilogy that keeps you happy, keeps the excitement going, and I was very impressed with it. I had fun. And again, you guys know me. For a lot of times, what puts these movies on my top 10 list is, did I have fun? Did I leave with a smile on my face? And I did with Sonic 3. So I want to give it a shout out.
Yeah, that is the one thing about the way that we do some of the shows here, some of the specialty shows, because I don't like to see stuff before we're going to review it unless I have no like I'm going to see Baby Girl this Saturday. We're never going to review it. It's probably not even going to make an Oscar nomination, not for Best Picture at least, which is all we're concerned with. So that's fine. I'll see that whenever. But I should have watched Anora. It probably would have made my top 10, but I'm saving it. I'm saving it for the triple feature in 2 weeks.
Hey, Mark, look at me for a second.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna like Anora. That is a you movie.
Guarantee. Mm-hmm. I didn't hate Red Rocket. I heard in Sean Baker, that's kind of what Sean Baker does. Anyway, my point being that there's stuff that I probably should have watched to try to see if it'll make my top 10. But I go, well, we're doing that in a week. We're doing that in 2 weeks. We're doing that for the Oscar show. So then I don't watch it until then. And then so there's like gaping holes in my top 10 that shouldn't be there. But let's move this on. All right. So number 10 on my list for the year, then number 10 for Robert, then number 10 for Alexis. And my number 10 is Transformers 1. I know that's going to like shock some people, but if you go back and listen to our review, I raved about that movie.
You really did.
I thought in terms of plot structure and narrative, it was one of the best written movies this year up until the end. You take that ending out, you fix the ending, this probably gets closer to my top 5. The ending dragged it to 10.
I would agree with that by and large. That was one of my biggest gripes with the movie, if you'll all recall. And
a third of our review is us rewriting that ending.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but like I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And considering a lot of Damn You Hollywood is us criticizing writing, because for a lot of it, we're like, oh, this, like, we'll name different elements of the craft that like this was good, but you know what's consistently bad? Writing. Like, things don't flow, things aren't logical, characterizations are bad, flat. And then here comes Transformers 1, this dippy fucking cartoon that Paramount just threw out there, all higgledy-piggledy, you know, and it lost money. It did not do well. The Transformers, I think, is a dead brand at this point.
Transformers was way too damaged by the last 3 live-action adaptations for this to save it.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah, Transformers needs to die and be properly resurrected a la Optimus Prime. Okay, it's like seriously, it's like, guys, it's like Optimus Prime's had the matrix of leadership yanked out of him, let him fall, let him rest for a little bit, and then reboot it.
Yeah, I don't think Paramount knew what they had with Transformers 1, and I don't think I listened to the critically acclaimed guys talk about it. I don't even think they got it, but call me what you will. I know good writing when I see it, and Transformers 1 was extremely well written, and then like the rest of it, you know, it's perfectly colorful enough. I enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it. Brought me a lot of joy. Fix the ending. It's twice as good. So that's my that's my number 10.
All right. Picking randomly from. You know what? No, let me not pick randomly from my bottom selection. Let me go specifically with the one that is most on the bubble here. The Bike Riders.
Yeah.
Again, this is the most on the bubble one. It was between that or Dune 2 that was going to get pushed out. And ultimately, again, I kicked out Dune 2 because I know at least one of Mark or Alexis is going to have it in there. And I'd rather than sort of put it in there and have it be a subject of rehashing, let me pick something else that I think deserves a little bit of attention in this respect. The actual story for the Bike Riders is not great. That was one of our big complaints about it, that there's not...
That was a song lyric.
It was. But I want to give a lot of credit to some of the other things about it that deserve attention. It is incredibly well produced. It looks like the era from which it is supposed to be set. And for a movie that was supposed to be like Austin Butler's big hero, like that was designed to be his, like, you know, Tom Cruise in Color of Money.
Yeah.
Like that's what this was designed for. And he did not come out of it looking that good. But for the lead actress and for Tom Hardy, they came out they did exceptional work.
Especially Jodie Comer.
Yeah. The acting and the costuming and the set design and the overall feel and aesthetic of those kinds of people at that time in history, to get all of that so very right, it's why I was a little bit more forgiving of the sort of lack of narrative cohesion in favor of the entire idea being more of an honest snapshot into this reality. And I get that that's not for everybody, and believe me, I understand all of the complaints. There's a reason I leveled some of them at it. But those elements of the production, are so well done and it's so well made in that respect that leaving this completely off of here in favor of something that we're going to talk about anyway just felt wrong.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to totally repeat everything I said on that review. There was like a million of us that night, so I had to keep things moving. But I remember thinking to myself, and I may have even said it that night, I wanted to like the Bike Riders more than I did.
Yeah.
And the very fact of the matter is, everything you're saying about it is right in terms of physical craft. But it so lacks a story. And Mac's comment about, like, but where's the story? Like, why did you make... His whole thing was, why did you make this movie? And not for the reasons that you think with that use of verbiage. It was, what are you trying to tell us? And...
Yeah, I'm... One of the things he mentioned in particular was, you have all of this talent.
Right.
And all that has gone into this. Think what you could have done with a good story.
Yeah, that's
And
the thing. It's like, it was like a window to this world, and you're like, okay, I've now seen this world. What is your point? Oh, there is no point. I just want to show you this cup. It's red. Great.
And disappearing into your backgrounds, apparently.
a little bit.
All right. Speaking of disappearing, Alexis, you're number 10.
My number 10 is actually Saturday Night.
Oh, yay!
Yeah. When I saw the first
Not
trailer
enough
for that,
cocaine.
Or Aaron.
Oh,
Sorkin.
you kidding me? There's a scene where Dan Aykroyd has to come in and help George Carlin because he's done so much cocaine that his jaw is locked up.
I know. I'm still saying there was not the Tony Montana scene with George Carlin or Bill Murray, and I felt robbed. They needed the mountain, and somebody just.
Pretty much. No, I really enjoyed. Like I saw the first trailer, I was really excited to see it, especially that it was from Jason Reitman, who I really love as a director. I think he's given a lot of really cool projects. I was blown away by the acting, actually, how well all of these actors played. The other actors.
Who's it? Nicholas Hoult that plays Chevy Chase?
No, it wasn't Nicholas Hoult. I don't remember.
The guy who plays the Riddler in Gotham. He's
no,
fucking awesome.
Oh, from Gotham. I thought. I was like, wasn't Paul Dano?
No, from Gotham. And he's fucking phenomenal as Chevy Chase. He's like the best.
Yeah.
Him and the guy that plays Jim Belushi, the best parts of the movie for me.
I think one of the things that made me laugh the hardest was walking away. Okay, the
You
guy
mean
who
John
plays
Belushi?
Yes.
It is John. Yeah.
Whatever.
You said Jim.
Jamie.
No, is actually the guy who plays Lorne Michaels, who was the kid from The Fabelmans, who I didn't even recognize in this role. Watching him perform, I was reminded of an interview that Mike Myers gave about the Austin Powers movies. And he was talking about where he came up with the creation of Austin Powers and Dr. Evil. And it was well known that Dr. Evil was very much inspired by Lorne Michaels, the way he talks. And I'm watching the kid from The Fabelmans play Lorne Michaels in this, and I realized I can see Dr. Evil in his performance. And I just could not stop laughing at it. It also hits home for me because, again, I got my degree in broadcasting. I worked for a local news station. So I watched a lot of shows go up on production. I recognized that, okay, we got to get this done because we're going live. Go, go, go. Manic attitude. I just watched the first episode of Saturday Night Live on Peacock before I went to go see it. So I love that. It's like recognizing, oh, that's going to come up later. And yeah, the actors playing these other actors blew me away. The guy who played Dan Aykroyd. The guy playing George Carlin. The guy playing Billy Crystal. Did you guys know Billy Crystal was supposed to be on the first episode of SNL?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he was supposed to be there. They went up to him and said, we'll give you it's like, well, basically the host segment was not supposed to so much be like interacting and doing and being and acting in sketches. They were supposed to do intermittent pieces of stand-up. And there were supposed to be a couple other people doing stand-up. It was Billy Crystal and another girl who did get on the show. And they were saying, we demand like 5 minutes. And they walked in and was like, can you cut it down to 3 minutes? Crystal said no. The other girl said yes. She said, fine. Crystal, you're out.
That's really great. I reviewed it with Neil and Cress. Not enough to make my honorable mentions or top 10, but I enjoyed it. I think give this script to Aaron Sorkin, and I think you really would have had something here. All right, my next one
Give
is
that script to Sorkin. He rewrites it, and it's worse.
Shut up. I saw the TV
Now
glow.
I'm drinking soda, dude.
All right, so I saw the TV glow is kind of like Furiosa for me, where I can recognize the superior film craft. And this is an emotional pick for me because, look, if you hate it secretly, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I can live with this particular thing I'm going to say bothering people. But I really love my kids, and I love that they enjoy stuff, and that I'm able to share these experiences with them. And you'll never quite know what it was to watch my daughter look at I Saw the TV Glow and feel the way that she felt. The stuff that she goes through mentally, emotionally, and be somewhat seen through the eyes of this movie, and have her look back and go, okay, I feel like a person. Gave this probably more of an inflated sense of, for me, an inflated sense of joy than not, because personally, it did not speak to me. But I recognize that as a trans and ace fairy tale, through a modern lens, there's a lot of really good stuff going on here. It is not for everybody. I think I said at the time when I reviewed it with Neil and Chris, this is not a movie I'm going to refer to people, advise people to see.
Recommend.
Thank you. Sorry. Recommend. I am not going to recommend I Saw the TV Glow to many people. But to, I think, people who will appreciate it and enjoy it, I think they'll have a good experience with it. By the same token, it scared the fuck out of my son. There's a bit in the movie. I talked about this on the show.
Was it the Man in the Moon?
I was in the bathroom, so I don't really know what happened here. I just know he was hysterical when I came back to there, because I left to go to. I was sick that night, and I went to go to the bathroom, and I was in the bathroom for a long time, and I came back, and he was in tears, and I'm like, "Are you all right? Do I need to get you out?" He was like, "No, I'll be fine." But then it was over, and he's like hyperventilating, and he's like, "Dad, the pig go pig season finale." You just like what he was trying to tell me was, go on YouTube and watch that scene. I'm like, son, it's still in the theater. It's not on YouTube yet.
Oh, it is.
Well, it's on HBO Max now.
Well,
no. I mean, even then, you could have found it on YouTube.
Okay. Well, I didn't think so. It was like opening weekend when we saw it. In any case,
people record stuff like that and upload clips on YouTube, and they shouldn't, but they do.
I may go back and find the thing, because I got to see what the fuck he's talking about. But anyway, whatever was happening when they showed you the finale of the Pink Opaque just turned him inside out. And then there's my daughter bouncing up in her seat like a maniac. Just thought it was the best thing ever. I think objectively it's a great film. Subjectively, it's not for me. I know for a fact, subjectively, it's not for Robert. I want that on a T-shirt. The fuck I have to see. I Saw the TV Glow, whatever it was you said the other night.
Okay, I use that as a reference point, not as anything against the movie in particular, but we were just talking about, there's a bunch about the people whose opinions in film I follow, and I follow a lot of them who I don't agree with, but who I understand.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them who are like, boy, this is the best thing ever. Like, the hell it is.
Yeah, William Bibiani, when he reviewed it, was like, everyone must see I Saw the TV Glow. And I'm like, dude, separate objective from subjective. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, it's my number 9. Robert?
Let's go with Sonic 3 for my number 9.
Okay.
Again, look, I was not impressed with a lot of what I saw this year, and you guys can drag me for it if you like, and I'm not going to disagree with you too much.
No, I'm just making notes for next year so I can actually say, so is this the third year in a row that you said you weren't impressed?
No, that's going to be a running theme. I freely acknowledge that most movies are not made for me. And Sonic 3 is not made for me, but as a guy who's been, a quarter of a Sonic fan, off and on for, I was the right age when Sonic became a big thing in the popular zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
And watching, the first Sonic movie was so lovely because it was a reclamation of a character from what the internet had done to it over the course, what the internet and corporate culture had done to it over the course of time.
Not to mention,
if you want more on that, I heartily recommend Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on what the internet did to Sonic. But Sonic 3 being, really good, a logical escalation, and just seeing something that so many people feel so deeply about treated with respect, and seeing them get a good adaptation of something they really like. Having been burned a lot on adaptations of things I like, And boy, have I. To the point where I have stopped liking things because it's not worth the hurt.
I know you're always like ahead of me on things, but I'm there with you. I kind of live through my kids now and watch what they get excited to and live through that because it is hard to attach myself to people, places, and things just to watch them burn around me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the same reaction to the Sandman TV show. I bailed on it after like 5 episodes, 5.5. Didn't care for it. But I know a lot of people who love the Sandman comic.
Oh, of course.
And yeah, we have some mutual friends. Yeah, I know a lot of people who do. And seeing their kind of reflected joy, it's something that they really care that much about, being treated with respect and getting an adaptation of it that they can just like. I have to just give that a thumbs up. So a little bit of that for Sonic 3. We have another popular character being introduced and being treated respectfully. It's got decent humor. They cut some of the extraneous stuff from Sonic 2 that bothered me. And ultimately, Sonic 3 is just a well-made movie. So it's kind of, the only thing I would do is cut the dance number down the laser hallway, but because I hate fun.
All right, speaking of hating fun, number 9, Alexis.
My number 9 is Dune Part 2.
Yeah, that's one off my list.
Yeah.
By the way, for the record, Dune on my list is number 1, 2, 3, 4.
I put it lower on the list because it is a movie theater movie. It is a movie that you only should see on IMAX, in the theaters, big old screen. It's unfortunately a movie that I honestly do not think holds up well the more times you watch it. It's like you see it once on IMAX and that's it. But, still enjoyed it. Amazing visual effects, great acting. I am really excited for what's the third one? Dune Prophecy? Is that what the book was called?
This will be Messiah.
Messiah, thank you.
Prophecy is the TV show no one wanted to review with me.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Guess what? That's not on my top 10 or top 5 best
I haven't
TV
seen
shows
it.
list.
I threw it out there and got a resounding crickets. Quick, I want to just weigh in on Dune 2 because I'm not going to weigh in later. Like I said, it's my number 4. I think it's one of the best made movies of this year. In fact, looking at my list real quick, the ones I have above it were more of I enjoyed them more than they were well made. But I think Dune 2's use of color, of the switching the color aspects like black and white to back to color again, the long shots. I mean, Denis Villeneuve really knows how to swing a camera. I tell you, I've talked to a couple of people, some old heads, who have read Dune, and they were like, "It's fucking unfilmable." That's like the most common phrase attached to Dune. It's unfilmable, and then here's Denis Villeneuve.
It's written in third person omniscient perspective.
Yeah, and then you have this guy who comes out and he makes between Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2 an epic classic. And I said recently, not everything deserves to be epic. It either is or it isn't. And Denis Villeneuve showed people why Dune achieves its epicness. I'll let you have the last word here, Alexis, before we move on.
See, the thing that stood out for me was, again, just how I don't like using the word immersive because I want to save that for when we talk about another movie, but just how much you get into it. Because this was something I remember specifically feeling when I was watching that movie. I knew that we were going to go from Arrakis to Hurricane Planet, which name I cannot remember. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm getting kind of bored with the desert. Can we move on to something else? And when we get to the black and white planet, I felt, and we see like those fireworks that they're using and everything, I felt so uncomfortable with how everything was shot. I was like, nope, never mind. I take it back. Take me back to Arrakis. It's just like, if it could get that kind of a reaction out of me, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely one for the top 10.
I think as a visual artist, you and me, and you're the visual artist, not me. I'm not saying that that's where we link, but I think as a visual artist, both you and I really do appreciate well-made visual art. And I think that's Dune 2's greatest accomplishment, is that every shot of painting, it's marvelous. It's marvelous to behold. Yeah. All right, number 8, I believe, is what we're up to. Red 1. Robert and I. Look, man, there's no shame in my game. I think I think it was well written in terms of like there was a the plot. We're on a mission to bring back Santa. Santa's been kidnapped, and we're gonna mix up this. It's a buddy cop thing. We're gonna go rescue Santa. Everything flows from one scene to the next. So again, structurally, narratively, I think it held. Something I said on the show, and this is really all I'll say about it, because we're gonna be at 5 hours if we keep going at this pace. I said on the review, and I'll say it again. When there's an element of traditional mores that show up in movies and are handled with respect, it's gonna touch me more than not. I tend to be more conservative than progressive when it comes to my own personal feelings about things, and when it's reflected in the media that I consume, my sense of joy is heightened. And not to mention that I'm a huge fan of the Christmas holiday, and so there's the great use of Christmas mythology. I was amused by it. It definitely did not need to be in theaters. The Rock is an insane person. And when we get to the money later on, my God, it's a good thing it was Amazon that did this and not a real studio, because they'd have killed The Rock for what he did with this movie.
They would have hired people and he would be dead.
They would have buried him alive. He'd have been the bride in Kill Bill.
I was going to say, Andre and I watched Red One on Christmas Eve. He was dying to see it. I remember watching go. What killed me was actually just some of the visual effects. I was like, you guys, I mean, again, it's like for Amazon TV, it's like those are fine visual effects. But the scene of like the polar bear hugging Chris Evans, I was just like, you expected that to look good on a big screen? What the hell was wrong with you guys?
Someone needs to be brave and talk to The Rock and talk him out of things, because boy, man, the bubble that guy lives in has made him a little insane.
I was gonna say, between Red One and Black Adam, it's like, dude, it's like we need to talk.
Yeah. All right, Robert, you're up.
Let's see. Let me go with 1, 2, 3. Use those two. Let me go with another. Let me go with one here. There was a purely dramatic piece called One Life. It's available on Amazon Prime at the moment. It stars Anthony Hopkins, which is always a plus for me. It's the story of, it's sort of about one of the more famous moments in British television, where on a program that's sort of I think This Is Your Life was kind of based on it. A guy who helped a lot of children in particular escape Czechoslovakia before the Nazis got there is sort of spontaneously confronted with the people he saved. Character's first name is Nicky. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head to save my life. Again, it's a purely dramatic movie, more or less. It deals a bit with him in the lead up to that moment, as well as his flashbacks to doing that work in the UK and in England and Czechoslovakia. And then, navigating the bureaucracy of evacuating refugees and which places are closing borders and Hitler's on the doorstep and et cetera, et cetera. Again, it is pure drama. It is the kind of movie where if you don't have a bit of an emotional reaction to it, you're probably a little bit more dead inside than I am. And that's kind of saying something. But again, it's kind of by default, like the subject material, the way it's told. Yes, you're going to get a little bit teary because of what we're dealing with here. It manages to marry a little bit the desire to have done as much as you could in that horrible circumstance with the older version of that character looking back on his life, kind of going in reflective mode, going, did I do any good? What was the, what kind of came of all this?
Kind of that bit at the end of Schindler's List.
Yeah, a little bit.
That scene always makes me cry.
It is. It's a great scene. So if you haven't seen that one, I do recommend checking it out if that sounds like it's up your alley, but it's just well made, well acted. It's probably not going to be anything award winning, but in a year when I was, struggling to find things that actually kind of touched me on the emotional level, this one did. So,
all right. You're up, Alexis. Number 8.
Number 8, Conclave.
Haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the ones I couldn't fit in watching before the show. So we'll see where I land on that one.
My parents saw it before I did, and they were raving about how great it was. So the minute I saw it was on streaming, I told Andre we need to go see it. One of the best written movies, I would say, of the year. Some of the absolute best dialogue. Top-notch acting from Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow. They just all blew me away with their interactions with one another and the ramifications of what happens when the Pope is elected and what it's going to mean to the Catholic Church. So I was very, very impressed with it.
Yeah,
and I know it's going to be up on the Oscars list.
Yeah, it's on the short list for nominated for Best Picture, which we won't know that for sure until mid-January. But it's currently on a list of triple features for Robert and I to do, which is why I haven't seen it yet. Movies That Don't Suck Guys did it, loved it, so probably would have made my top 10 had I seen it. Them's the breaks. All right, I'm impressed with your list so far, by the way. So here, let me impress you with mine. Hot Frosty.
Haven't seen it.
Why are you the way that you are?
I can't force myself to watch it, okay? I just can't.
Okay, so I am pretty aromantic, and I tend to not watch romance movies. I don't find them enjoyable. But when I was looking for movies to watch for Christmas, to do one here, but just stuff to watch, and I saw the premise of it, I'm like, this is so over the top silly. This is right up my alley. And I expected not to be crack-coon bad, but I didn't expect to go on the emotional roller coaster that I did either. So it's a cancer allegory, and I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but I've had cancer twice. I've had to deal on both sides of the idea of going, living your life like it's your last day, because you never know when, your time is up. It's a very meaningful thing for me. But also, the idea of going on without your partner, without your spouse. These are all things that I have to live through. I've lived through personally. And it's weird that I saw it in this stupid movie, but it's there and it's handled well. It's handled with the degree of grace and dignity that a romance hallmarky Netflix movie about a living snowman a la Pinocchio will handle. Like, the writing in Hot Frosty is better than a lot of movies that I've seen and handles things with more grace and care than a lot of movies I've seen, which is why it made my list. Like, when you do good, I want you to get rewards. When you do good, I want you to be acknowledged. And so that's why Hot Frosty's on my list. I get that it's silly. I get that it's not everyone's cup of tea. But between the cancer stuff, everyone's acting is exactly where it should be. The only complaint I had about it was Craig Robinson, because I don't think the people who made the movie knew what to do with him. So they just let him be him, and I'm sure I'm the only weirdo who didn't think he was funny. I know when Jesse and I talked, and Mick talked about it,
You're not the only weirdo who doesn't think Craig Robinson is especially funny when left to his own devices.
Yeah, well, they thought he was funny. So I kind of like you, Robert. There are times where the whole world's standing over here, and there's me. So, and I just kind of accept that. I don't let it bother me. Yep. I loved Hot Frosty. Made my number 7. I think we're up to 7 now. I made my 7 on the list. Robert?
Let's go with Honora. This is close enough to my number 7. So this is one that I watched. I actually watched this last night. We're going to be reviewing it more in detail later, so I'm not going to go deep. Other people like this a lot more than I did. Mark is going to love it, and I don't say that pejoratively. This is very much just your kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
When Pat mentioned that he was very fond of it, he really liked it. I watched it, and I immediately understood why Pat liked it, and I know why Mark's going to like it. I wound up laughing my ass off through that movie.
In a good way or a bad way?
And
laughing at it in a good way or laughing at it in a bad way?
Half the time it's when you're supposed to laugh at it. Half the time it's when you're not supposed to laugh at it, which is part of it's me.
Mm-hmm.
The comedic elements of the movie, there are deliberate comedic elements to the movie. But there's a bunch that's supposed to be like deeply serious. And I kept watching this going, I'm supposed to feel bad for people playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. No. I'm not.
Okay.
Sorry. But it's well made. It's fairly well acted. The lead actress in particular is getting a lot of praise. She's kind of every obnoxious Brooklyn/New Jersey girl you've ever known. But doing that without turning it into parody is actually a little bit of a fine line to walk, so I give her credit for that.
Okay.
And it's also here because it's the kind of movie that's largely going to be here, but I can't get any higher than this on it. In no small part because the tone bounces a bit too much. And if you're like me, you wind up just kind of laughing at stuff that's supposed to be serious, including the final shot, which I feel bad about laughing at.
Okay. Alexis?
Number 7, Wicked Part 1.
Dear childless cat lady, stop singing in the movies.
Well, so much for that confirmation that we were going to get sing-along versions of it.
That's on PVOD now. Yeah. I can only tell you around here there are sing-along versions in the theaters. But if you want a sing-along version to do at home, those are also available.
Okay, I seriously had predicted that the theater was going to re-release it at least after the new year with sing-along versions of the lyrics.
The ones that I saw of that were done like Christmas week. You had the sing-along versions.
Okay, I did not see a single advertisement for one of those. So
they were poorly advertised. I had to if I went to the movie theater webpage and got to the Wicked subheading, like, okay, here's the real 3D ones, here's the sing-along ones, here's the regular ones. So like they didn't make a big deal out of it, but they were there.
All right. So why is it on your number 7?
I'm going to probably repeat a lot of what I mentioned on our Damn You Hollywood of it. Not only did Ariana Grande blow me out of the water as Galinda, it's like I cannot stand her as a pop star. I really don't like her pop music, but she was amazing in this movie. I absolutely loved the actual built sets and the visual design of it. I actually forgot to mention when we were talking about how cool it was that the sets and everything were real, especially since John M. Chu had to fight the studio against using green screen and CGI. One of the things I completely forgot to talk about was the props. And it's specifically the scene when they're in their bedroom and you see all of the stuff that Galinda has brought with her. And it's all real and it's all functional. She opens every single suitcase and there's something in there that she can use and you could see how it uses. And it's almost Seussian in style. And I love that had so much character to it. I thought it was a great job. And I'm also putting it number 7 because it is one hell of a hard act to follow, because anyone who has seen Wicked on stage, they all say Act 1 is better than Act 2. So Act 1's got some of the more memorable songs. It's got some of the better action. It's got the whole build up with the wizard. Act 2's got to follow all of that, and knowing that it's kind of got the lower tier of the songs from the musical in it. So I'm really curious to see how they're going to do that.
All right. My number 6 is Beverly Hills Cop XLF. I went into this afraid for my life that this was going to suck the way most Netflix movies suck, the way most 30 or 40-year sequels tend to suck. I mean, the year before, we watched them puppeteer fucking poor Harrison Ford around the Indiana Jones set. We are not kind to our male legacy heroes.
Oh man, if we just want to hit Eddie Murphy as another lead, I think the year before that was Coming to America.
Yeah, which Jason and I reviewed. So going into, and we did it on Long Road to Ruin. I re-aired it one year as part of our Black History Month shows. For those of you who are continuing to think that we're racist, that's from Monday, Alexis. I love the Beverly Hills Cop movies, especially the first 2. That third one, ugh. But I mean, I sent my son a message. I was like, "Hey, you need to watch this movie," and he was like, "Well, I don't want to watch the fourth one. Should I watch the first one?" And I sent him a message. I was like, watch, at the very least, watch the opening scene to Beverly Hills Cop. And he was like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen." Then he watched the movie and he was like, watching Eddie Murphy walk around Beverly Hills commenting on things to jazzy music is the best thing ever. Beverly Hills Cop is such a well done movie. It was darn near perfect, and I was really afraid of what they were gonna fucking do to it. And it's awesome. It's so good. It brought me like, and if you're inclined to not like it, then everything I'm gonna say is not gonna make any sense to you. But having already liked it, and then they did a lot of really good stuff with Eddie Murphy and the chick who plays his daughter. And given that we've complained about how they treat legacy heroes and their children in the movies, their adult children, everyone's better than them, and they're dopey, and everything that was ever important in their life is dumb and just shits all over everything. Beverly Hills Cop does none of those things. They actually let Eddie Murphy save his daughter. There's a great line in it. There's a great line in the that the daughter says, and it hit me personally, especially what was going on in my life at the time. She was like, a child will always be you abandoned me, and it doesn't really matter how awful I was. The child will always be the child, and the parent will always be the parent. And I've kind of had to like internally tattoo that on my heart and remember it, because children are frustrating. But they treated Eddie Murphy with respect. They understand that he's a zillion years old and acted as such, and let him do what he can do and do it the best he can, and then kind of move the pieces around him. The story in and of itself is not great. It's why it's number 6 and not number 4 or 5. The story in and of itself is another one of these, but the FBI knew the CIA was setting up the DEA. But it doesn't matter because everything else is so good, I don't care. So that's number 6.
Fair enough. Okay, my number 6, what's left? Long Legs.
This was a really interesting year for horror. We were talking about this on the group chat, that there was a lot of really good and really bad scary movies that came out of it, but there was a lot of them.
There were a lot of horror movies released this year because I think a lot of them got to do. A lot of horror movies are made under conditions that render them immune to some of the strikes that went on. In terms of budget, crew number, et cetera, et cetera.
More from independent artisans who aren't in the guilds yet.
So Long Legs in general, I wanted to like it more than I did. I think the opening sequence up until the title card drop is actually a very, very effective short horror story. Would have been a perfect short film. Nicolas Cage is great, which is not terribly surprising. There's a lot of really good stuff in there, but the finale falls a tad short, and it suffers a little bit from the Oz Perkins syndrome, in part because it was directed by Osgood Perkins, so who's surprised by that? Where his attempt to blend the realism with the supernatural is never quite on. It's always just a little bit off, and something about the finale just didn't land for me personally, and the hype for this movie didn't help it in that respect. And frankly, when you're inviting as many comparisons as this movie did to Silence of the Lambs, which is, gun to my head, my favorite movie ever, you're going to fall short a lot. And this did in that respect. A lot. But there are some really good sequences in it. There's some pretty good scares. Again, Nicolas Cage and all that makeup is definitively unnerving. So credit to him for that. But it's another story that's like 3/4 good, but the finale just doesn't quite land. And because the finale doesn't quite land, it sort of retroactively messes with the rest of it, hence its position here.
Alexis, number 6.
The Wild Robot.
Oh, fuck you. It's my number 1.
Also very high on would have been very high on mine, so we can hit it here.
Yeah, let's just do it and do this now. Good, it'll make the second half of this a lot shorter.
Yeah.
This was the format you presented, Mark, so we're rolling with the rules.
That's what it's fine. Go ahead, Alexis.
No, absolutely loved it. Brilliant animation. I love the style, almost kind of like a oil pastels on top of the 3D models. Chris Sanders has knocked it out of the park for DreamWorks and Disney, which makes me cry every time I think about that How to Train Your Dragon live action crap that we're getting.
More of that in
We'll
about an
get
hour.
there.
Yeah. But it was emotional. It was, and what really caught me is that the first trailer was released with no dialogue. So I thought this was going to be kind of akin to Wall-E. And then the second trailer, we find out, oh no, all the animals are talking, and my interest just plummeted. I was like,
You and me both.
oh God, they made the animal. Oh God, I love you, Pedro Pascal, but why'd you sign on for this? Then I saw the movie and I was like, I retract everything I said about the animals talking being a bad thing. I was touched. I was humbled. I got weepy. I absolutely loved every second of it.
It is the best made movie this year in terms of story, presentation, animation. There's nothing better. It's my number one versus number two, because what the wild robot says versus what my number two says is more important to me. Though what is in my number two is also important, so it's literally like almost like a 1A, 1B situation. That traditional presentation brought so much joy out of me. You know, you talked about being weepy. Yeah, didn't quite get the Coco tears, but I had a real emotional response to the wild robot. We had Chris on here to talk about it. I don't remember who else was here that night. It might have just been me, you, and Chris. And if anyone's ever watched Damn You Hollywood and been like, you guys are a little negative. Do you ever like anything? Yeah, The Wild Robot. It was the most unadulterated positive review we did this year, bar none.
Yeah, hands down.
I was going to say, I will say, not Coco. Actually, the only movie that's giving me anything resembling Coco tears since Coco is Del Toro's Pinocchio. Because I said on the review that I can't remember the last time I had cried that hard watching a movie.
All right. Just for time. All right. So our bottom five. I'm gonna do my entire list. One, to save time. Two, because I can kind of sum this all up really fast. So just follow my lead and do it. My honorable mention was Night Swim. It's just such a boring, terribly made movie. You know, some things I said it in a review earlier this year. Some things just need to stay in the format they were originally intended.
Yeah.
It was a short fucking movie. It should have stayed a short fucking movie. This was terrible. But it got knocked out of my top five by Mufasa the Lion King. My God.
I loved your son's TikTok review of that.
Oh my God. He was so mad.
Mufasa the Lion King, I said this on the review, I'll reiterate it. It is everything wrong with modern filmmaking.
Yeah. We just went through this on Monday. I'm not going to rehash everything here, but Mufasa is literally one of the worst made movies I've seen this year. Had almost no redeemable qualities. Madam Web is number 3 for me. Number 4. It's terrible, but I had such a fun time laughing at it that it's not higher. I know for a lot of people it's like the number 1 worst movie of the year. It's it's kind of like it's stock and trade. It's terrible. It's badly acted. It's badly written. There's no good qualities about it. It is one of the final nails in the coffin of the Sony Spider-Man universe. But it's one of those where I was giddily happy laughing at this thing and how bad it was.
If you can't giggle laughing at the obviously 80-yard dialogue for the villain every time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Madam Web goes right up there with Cats on the films that get your favorite controlled substance and invite your friends over for a riff track style party.
My son, speaking of my son's TikTok, he did a really funny one with a woman I was dating at the time, her daughter. So they did like a skit, and where he like attacked, she's like innocently walking past the poster, and he just attacks her, and he's like, "Please don't go in there, ma'am. It's terrible." It's great. Unfrosted. So again, I keep saying the words like joy and happiness and everything, and then there's things I'm trying to avoid and do better at in my life, and that is being a cynic, being just a negative shithead, being angry at people for finding joy in things that don't bring me joy. So there's Unfrosted, which is Jerry Seinfeld being mad for some stupid reason at product biopics, and Robert and I already had a fist fight over this. We don't need to rehash it, but like. Unfrosted is one of the worst made movies of this year. Ugly costumes, bad writing, unfunny comedy, and is so cynical and hateful. I generally like Jerry Seinfeld. I don't have a problem with the guy. This made me dislike Jerry Seinfeld. Like it's like like a movie that's so bad it makes you want to kick a puppy. That's Unfrosted for me. Then there's Uglies.
There was no way they could make a version. Okay, it's like in a book, because it was originally a young adult novel.
Oh yeah, hang on, hold that thought for a second, and I'm gonna let you complete your thought. But I really got to get this out. Uglies is so bad. How bad was it? I contemplated not engaging in social activities with a girl who thought it was like her favorite movie of the year. Like
that's a very bad indicator of you as a human being.
I mean, she's sitting there like we were at a social event. I gotta really clean this story. We were at a
Too
party
late.
Where clothing was not required.
I don't want to get into specifics. She didn't agree. She didn't agree to be
didn't
part of the
deny
podcast. But I'm at a party. I'm engaged with this woman socially, and she's watching Uglies on a TV in this house party that I'm at. And I'm seriously debating continuing to talk to her because I can't take a person seriously that thinks this is good. And then because I'm a guy who's interested in a girl, which means I have to be interested in what you're saying, I had to listen to her give me this TED talk on the book and the movie and how great they are. And I've never wanted an asteroid to hit a house that I was in more than having to sit through that. Uglies is the worst, but not the worst.
It's pretty darn bad.
Go ahead, Alexis. You were about to say something.
No, what I'm saying, the flaw with making Uglies into a film is, okay, God forgive me for using her work as an example, but I have to. In the Harry Potter universe, you have the character Fleur Delacour, I think is her name, who is described as this ethereal beauty. Just this, she has this mesmerizing, because we find she's got like a mystical ability. She can literally turn on the charm. And stuff like that.
She's part Vila, so
yeah, exactly. So she literally has magical charms. And there is something about books like that where it's easy to write stuff like that because you're leaving it up to the reader's imagination what they actually look like. Very similar to things with H.P. Lovecraft when he talks about Pickman's model and talks about how scary the paintings are. Again, it's our imagination.
Then when you do the Pickman's model episode of Cabinet of Curiosities and you have to actually show the painting, it doesn't quite work the same. The rest of that, I mean, we reviewed it, so it was a good it's a pretty good adaptation, but the fundamental premise of, boy, this guy's work is so scary that if you look at it, it kind of messes with your head, then you have to show it, doesn't work.
Well, when a young adult is reading Uglies, the novel, they have no problem visualizing what they think the ugly person looks like. Maybe they see a little bit of themselves in that. When you put it on screen, no producer wants to cast an ugly actor. They don't want to do the Ugly Betty thing because they're going to get a shit ton of hate mail from people saying...
We talked about that in our review. I was like, poor Jodie King. Like, you have just enough weird enough face that we can call you Hollywood ugly. And what was your line, Robert, from The Simpsons? I was like, I said I wanted Hollywood ugly, not ugly. I said
no. This is from the episode where Mose is like, it's a new face eventually, but he tried out for a soap opera and said, "Why did you bring that guy in to read? Well, you said you wanted gritty. You know what I mean? Ugly, right? I wanted gritty, I wanted like Hollywood ugly, not ugly.
Yeah, we went. I don't want to rehash it now. We went through a whole fucking thing about, They basically, like, your version of ugly is a misplaced mole or some shit. Like, I don't like my nose. It's like, that's not, oh my God, that's not ugly. So I don't want to get into it again. We did a long bit on that in the review. And it's not,
and it doesn't help that, everyone who looks perfect is basically them with an Instagram filter on to save time and energy in the post-production.
They got highlights, the gold highlight contact lenses or whatever.
There's nothing good about Uglies, nothing. And I'm sorry for all the pretty girls out there who are trying to convince me otherwise. Please watch better movies. Speaking of which, the worst movie of the year for me is a movie that was the poorest made movie, but also made me the angriest at how bad it was, and that's The Crow. It was like the exact opposite of The Wild Robot. It was what tonal whiplash on this show because they were within weeks of each other.
Yeah, they really were.
And it was like, oh my God, The Wild Robot. It made me feel young again, like when the world was new. Oh my God, burn everything. The Crow.
Pretty much.
my son walking out of there yelling "fuck this movie," and my poor daughter just like one single tear. It's just so bad. Like that got put up by Lionsgate. We'll talk about this in the P&L segment. But I'm at this point, if somebody doesn't buy Lionsgate to save them from themselves, I don't know what else to do. Those are my fucking worst movies of the year. Don't touch them with a stick. Night Swim, Mufasa, Madam Web, Unfrosted Uglies, and The Crow. Just unadulterated horseshit. Robert?
Okay, let me give the two on my list that are different from yours.
Yes, please.
So I agree with you on Uglies, Mufasa, and The Crow. Hands down, easily. If you make me put them in order, The Crow would probably be at the top.
Yeah.
But you found something worse than Madam Web.
Easily. Allow me to present Lift.
All right, folks. This is where you get to accuse Robert of racism again.
Does Kevin Hart count? I have to ask that question.
Come on, do your thing.
I don't know these people. I'm not associated with them.
Look, Lift is a movie that is so bad it feels like parody that no one knows is parody. It is the worst heist movie I've ever seen by a mile. And I like heist movies. Somewhere in my head, this is the story that Morty pitched to Netflix in the episode of Rick and Morty where they deconstruct heist films.
I didn't know you were a Rick and Morty fan.
I've seen it. I wouldn't call myself a fan. Kevin Hart is woefully miscast as a straight leading man. He is not good in that role.
Worst miscast, that or Borderlands?
Oh, that. Like, Cate Blanchett is at least a talented actress.
No, I mean, like, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart in Borderlands. Because, he is.
Oh.
If you play the game, he is not Roland.
He is not Roland at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it a worse miscast in Borderlands than it was in Lift, or is Lift a worse miscast?
His comedic sensibilities at least kind of match what the stupid director was going for in Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
Watching him try to play a leading man that is suave and has like screen presence and is supposed to be the leader of this team is painful.
It would be like if you casted Cat Williams in Arnold Schwarzenegger's role of Commando.
Little bit. It's just wrong. Everything about it is wrong.
Yeah.
Again, everything about it is bad. And as an affront to a genre that I happen to enjoy, I had to put it here over Madam Web, which is just comedic in ways that you can watch Madam Web and think it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be wrong, but you can, and you can actually support the argument. You can't watch this and pretend that it's tongue in cheek about poking fun at heist movies.
Yeah. What's the other one?
Joker Folie à Deux.
Okay.
Is the other movie I had to put here.
Mm-hmm.
I am literally the only person in humanity who actually liked that movie, aren't I?
Probably.
You're not. I defended Joker. I just said an exercise in taking a company's money and setting it on fire is not something I can approve of. But it's not on my worst list because there were elements about it that I thought were actually good. Go ahead, Robert.
It's on my worst list because of all the movies that are on this list. That and The Crow are the only ones I think objectively should not exist.
Okay.
I would be happier with the other ones not being made. Let me be very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask me, like, which of these are movies that I genuinely wish I could purge, remove from memory, it's The Crow and it's Joker Folie à Deux.
Okay.
It is nothing but a director's temper tantrum at an audience. It is nothing but a grift to extort money from a studio under false pretense. It is, I would argue it's not even well made. Listen to our review of it for my take on that and all the problems I had with all of the choices made in that respect. And dear God, stop singing. It's a movie, again, I would rather did not exist. And I think should not exist artistically. I think artistically it is an affront. It is almost like vandalism.
Do you have a bottom five? I couldn't remember if you had made a bottom five or not, Alexis.
No. Thankfully, unlike you two, I do not have to go and watch every movie that comes out. I'm sorry. You two willingly would pay money to go see Craven. I didn't
Willingly
have
is
to
a
do
bit
that.
of a stretch.
All right.
Regardless, I didn't have to sit through that shit.
Number 5. Just made my list and pushed out something else. A complete unknown. Look, if you're like, what are your top 10 movies of the year? I don't know. The ones that made me smile ear to ear almost the entire time I watched it. At heart, believe it or not, yes, I am traditional to a degree, conservative, but I'm also
Mark, go to Alexis after you're done. I gotta run and do something real fast.
yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
But I am also, from my earliest days, a punk rocker. You know, I am somebody that believes in the idea of, you know, standing in the face of authority. I think I mentioned this on a different review, but I love George Carlin's thing of, you know, lead, follow, get out of the way. Well, I obstruct. And the story of Dylan's transition from folk to electric and getting to the same place that I got mentally about, I mentioned this to Robert during the money last for Mufasa. I did kind of a short review of the movie. Music's not changing the world. Music can provide a soundtrack. Music can provide inspiration. Music can provide an editorial point of view on the wrongs of the world, and all those things I'm okay with. But you know, the Fat Mikes and Al Jorgensens of the world that think that, you know, they put out a song that's going to somehow change policy, that's going to motivate people to make significant change. We're going to right ethical and moral and political wrongs. You're out of your fucking mind. Grow up. And the fact that Dylan got to that place and was like, I'm done with this. I like making music. Folks, not changing anything. I want to move on and do something else. I'm bored. I'm like, oh my God, my spirit animal. I think Timothée Chalamet deserves, if he doesn't deserve to win, he at least deserves a nomination for Best Actor.
For the record, if the trailer had done the job of selling that movie on that, like that, I would have gone to see it by now. Yeah. But I talked with Mark about it, and he said, "Yeah, it's about this transition he makes and all that." I went, "Wow, that's not in the trailer at all, and that's actually interesting."
Yeah, say the trailer paints it a lot more like Walk the Line, like it's the
so it's getting compared to.
Yeah,
it's getting compared to, and I don't think it's a fair comparison. In any case, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Bob Dylan's music, but I definitely enjoyed what I heard. I like the story. I like the way it's told. I like the fact that Bob Dylan is... I like that you don't necessarily get an insight into who Bob Dylan is and what made him the way that he is. You're just sort of following his journey at that time in his life in that little window. So A Complete Unknown worked very well for me. I think it's a very well-made movie. Deserves to be in the top 5. Deserves the recognition that it's getting. It's also on people's short list for Best Picture. I don't know about that, but if
it's a weak year, it'll probably get the nom.
If it gets the nomination, I'm not going to go crazy like I did with Avatar. Robert?
All right, my top ones.
I would say before you say that, I would like to add Complete Unknown to my haven't seen yet honorable mentions. I've been holding off on seeing that because my dad really wants to see that, and it is so rare to get that man out of the house to go to the movies. So it's like I'm holding off so my family can all go see it together.
When you do see it, I'd be curious to see what your reaction is.
Okay.
Okay. My top. Let's start with juror number 2. This is the most recent Clint Eastwood film, and my sort of antipathy for Nicholas Holtz aside, and he is the lead. Eastwood has a very strong visual aesthetic to his movies. You can tell that it's an Eastwood movie, and I mean that as a compliment. It's mostly well acted. It deals with a very kind of heady theme about the nature of systems and who do they benefit, what happens when, how much utilitarianism, how much idealism, how much wiggle room should there be. It's a little bit overlong. It's not the strongest through the middle. Like, the concept is good. The structure is fine. Holtz and Toni Collette plays the prosecuting attorney. Are fine, good to fine. I'm nothing that I think is going to net anybody serious award, any hardware. But somebody mentioned, like, Warner Brothers released this movie in 35 theaters, so it could be eligible for awards, and then immediately threw it onto Max. And that's a crying shame. If nothing gets released for adults in the theater, adults are going to stop going. And the man-children attached to the MCU are only going to carry you so far. But again, Mark and I are probably going to wind up talking about this more in depth later, so I will happily go into more in depth later. But suffice to say, at the moment, very well made movie, and the only movie on my list I think that actually kind of gave me something to think about.
Alexis, you're number 5.
I'm going to go Duck because you're going to throw something at me. The Substance.
Oh, fuck off. It's my number 2.
That is somewhere in my top 5 as well, so.
All right,
Sorry.
hit it.
That was a very different style horror film, and it really shook me. Demi Moore.
Hang on, did I not sell it to you and everything I said was right?
Yes. Yeah, no, it was amazing. If Demi Moore does not get at least an Oscar nomination for Best Actress, I want her to walk away with the award, but I don't know who else is going to get nominated. So, I reserve the right to retract that. But at the moment,
we're at the point where they will have bribed enough people to give it to Zendaya for something, because as much as they're force feeding us.
Me. If that woman wins for challengers, I might have to storm the stage and slap Will Smith.
You'll pull a Kanye, and I don't mean the other. And I don't mean the other kind.
Let's put it this way: to back up your point, I'm good with Demi Moore winning Best Actress unless Jodie Comer wins it.
For what?
For the Bike
Riders.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see Bike Riders either.
All right.
But no, that was an amazing film. I loved how it was shot. I love how it was acted. I loved everything about it. The visual effects, the makeup. Holy shit, the makeup. I think it's going to come down between that and Wicked Part 1 for best makeup at the Oscars.
And it should be The Substance. Let's be very clear about that.
So yeah, The Substance was this year's My Poor Things. I gushed about The Substance incessantly. We did a triple feature on it, and I was looking for my Poor Things, my thing to rave to people about, and it was Hot Frosty. But other than that, it was The Substance, like what it says about women's mental health, what it says about their body image, what we do to women, the level of ageism that we have in Western culture. It speaks to all of those things. It speaks it well, and then it goes Sam Raimi at the end. To the point where, my son and I was walking in and out of the room, and he watched the end of it with me, and he was dying on the floor laughing.
For most women, the scene where Demi Moore is trying to go out for the date, and she keeps going back in and touching her makeup, so many of us have gone through something. Maybe not identical to that, but we have gone through that where it's just, no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, we don't feel good enough. We feel like the world around us is screaming, no, you haven't hit that level yet. And it is heartbreaking to see where she just starts screaming and rubbing her makeup off. Yeah. Oh my God, that hit me like a ton of fucking bricks.
Yeah, we talked about that, me and him.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. And
no one more qualified to talk about the representation of women and women's issues in film than Mark and I.
Oh, of course. And unfortunately, it also kills me that thing is nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Comedy or Musical, because once again, we get a year where Hollywood doesn't understand what to do with horror films. And there's
a very clear satirical element going on in the Substance that I think is what kind of gets them to that point.
No, that's just something that really bothers me, especially with a year like 2024, where we did have some really, really good horror films, and we just watch year after year that Hollywood sweeps it under the rug. Occasionally we get Get Out, Silence of the Lambs, or something like that, but so often it's like scary movies. They just push that crap aside. I swear.
I've said recently, I said the best stuff that I'm finding, the stuff that really gets my imagination going and speaks to me, has been in the horror genre. Mm-hmm. X, Fresh, The Substance, it can't all be Poor Things and Barbie. I don't know what's going on in the horror genre, but that's the stuff I keep coming back to.
It's funny because I remember last year saying that I wanted an honorable mention to one horror film because I couldn't decide between Talk to Me or Evil Dead Rises because I loved them both and they were both really scary, just two different kinds of scary. And this year I realized, okay, this year I actually have multiple horror films that are going on my top 10 list. And because we had some really freaking good scary films.
All right. So at this point, this is my last time I'm going to talk because you've already covered The Wild Robot, you've already covered The Substance, you've already covered Dune Part 2. So the only other movie, and I don't have much else to say about it because I've already said it twice this year, Maxine. I really enjoyed the X trilogy. Maxine is one of those movies. It was my number 3 because I really did thoroughly enjoy it. I wish it had been better than it was, and it might have made number 2 or number 1 for me. But boy, was Maxine my kind of movie. And so you're into sleazy, dirty puddle 80s kind of stuff, and horror. And it was an interesting conclusion, and it had something interesting to say about religion as part of Ty West's X trilogy. We talked about it in the triple feature. I did an extended bit on this for Movies That Don't Suck. I can only recommend it so many times and say so much about it. I loved Maxine. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen X or Pearl, you're out of your fucking mind and you need to watch all 3 movies. Robert?
Having not seen X or Pearl or Maxine, because I feel like if I do, and I don't, like, that's the kind of thing that you and I might like fight and seriously break up over.
My recommendation to you is don't watch X. And don't watch Maxine. Watch Pearl.
Yeah, Pearl. That's why Maxine's not on my list, because Pearl is the best in the trilogy, in my opinion.
Well, they came out in 2 separate years, so.
Well, that's why I was saying I couldn't put Maxine on this list, because I didn't think it was as good as Pearl, which came out prior.
Okay.
All right. I got 2 left, and I'm gonna kneecap Alexis here, so you'll have to forgive my strategic game playing. This lets me get 2 in a row. Late Night with the Devil.
That was my number 3.
Late Night with the Devil makes my list. I'm not the highest on it, but as a sort of feature for the lead actor, who's done a lot of good work in general, but is sort of still coming into his own, I thought it was good. A lot of the production, making it feel like a television broadcast of the era. It's not a very easy thing to do, but they do it. They managed to avoid anachronistic dialogue. Thank God. Nothing kills me more than hearing 2024, 2025 dialogue come out of people set in the 1980s or 90s.
We talked about that on the review. Because I pointed out that you had brought that up several times in previous reviews.
Because I hate it. I genuinely loathe when we sort of like retroactively do presentism with how people talked. No. Stop it. There's some very lovely practical effects. The worms coming out of the guy's belly, among other things.
Yeah.
And as a conclusion, the conclusion I actually really like as well. Mark, we've talked a little bit in the past about why the Exorcist franchise and concept has struggled so much as people try to deal with it now. And we've philosophized about it a little bit. I heard somebody else say this, forgive me, I can't remember who, but they summed it up more or less thusly. Part of what makes The Exorcist so special is you take real people and you force them to confront the reality that the devil exists. And nobody in contemporary Hollywood is willing to take that challenge at face value, because they don't. And because everything wants to be morally relativistic and hedonistic, the very concept of taking a person who is, struggling with their place in the universe and putting them in a situation where objectively, factually, concrete, the devil is real. And what that does to them is not something they're willing to do nowadays. And that's part of why that whole franchise, that whole concept consistently falls on its face. And Late Night with the Devil takes some of those same concepts and treats them seriously. And bless it, it's better for it. So there's my pitch on that one.
All I got to say is that I saw it in a late night showing, fell in love with it. The minute it became available VOD on Amazon, I bought it. And on no less than 3 occasions this year have I had friends or family over, and I've said, you have got to see this movie. This is the movie that I have shared the most with the people I love.
So for people that don't know, occasionally Alexis will host Damn You Hollywood on stuff that I'm not going to be a part of, whatever the reasons are. And more often than not, when the review is over, I have to move back into the lane that I was in because I was driving into oncoming traffic. That one...
Love you too, darling.
That one was one of your better ones. You guys actually, you had a really great conversation about the use of AI art in that one. Your conversation actually flowed, and I got a sense of what the movie was. I don't always when you host See Thanksgiving. But
how many times do I have to apologize for that?
As many as it takes. The crime against fucking podcasts. All right, what's your next one?
Number 4. We're on number 4, right?
At this point, just read whatever the next one up is, because we're all over the place now.
I guess I've got 3 more movies to talk about. Inside Out 2.
All right.
I thought it was a great follow-up, and as somebody who has had to deal with anxiety disorder for years, and that scene where Riley is having the panic attack, and you see the anxiety emotion literally creating a tornado around the control center, I just sat back and went, I see myself in this, and I really don't like that. Just hit really close to home for me. So I thought they captured that really well. Again, I thought it was a great follow-up to what is easily one of Pixar's best films. I applaud what they did.
I don't want to go off on a tangent about it. We're almost done here, but I think I heard the guy that does The Town talk about Inside Out 2 really resonating with kids and young adults, people from 12, 13 into their 20s because of the rise in anxiety disorders in people. Mm-hmm. That this was a movie speaking to the collective mental health of our youngish folks, and that that you are not alone in seeing yourself in Riley dealing with anxiety. So didn't quite move me the way it moved a lot of other people, but that's okay. But I now understand why it's the number 1 movie of the year and why it got to $1 billion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, so you're up to your last. Go ahead,
hang on, much like you, Mark, didn't move me the way that the first one did.
Mm-hmm.
But I have family members who were quite moved by it, so I have to. And Inside Out 2 also served as functionally the brand rescue for Pixar after a string of suboptimal outings, let's just be charitable, some of which outright sucked.
Some of which, unfortunately, just didn't get what they deserved because of the plague.
Yeah, Soul got a really raw deal, but Turning Red was never going to do anything anyway. So
no.
All right, the last one I have here. So for the record, my top ones, I'll go into the last one here. But Late Night with the Devil, Substance, Wild Robot, Juror Number 2. So we talked about a few of those already. Lastly on my list, sneaking in, I went to see this a little bit after Christmas with my family, and we're reviewing it next week, so I will save a lot of my review for that. But Nosferatu.
That's number 2 on my list.
Nosferatu cracked my top 5 here. Nice to see vampires be objects of horror again. And another reminder that for some reason Marvel can't figure out Blade. And I have to laugh about that perpetually. Again, full review will be coming, so I'm going to be a little bit briefer with my thoughts here, but I generally enjoy Egger's work. And he's a very strong visual director, if nothing else. And there's some really interesting stuff here because one of Egger's great gifts is he takes any of the subject material he works with and he approaches it at face value. So witchcraft is frequently something that is derisive the way modern movie making approaches it. Witchcraft is nothing to be scared of, and look at all these rubes who are afraid of it. And in The Witch, he takes the practice of witchcraft at face value. This is something people didn't these are not people to be laughed at. This is not a material to be laughed at. This is something they took seriously, so he takes it seriously. That permeates all of his other ones that he does as well. Some of the brutality and mysticism of the Northmen. Again, we've reviewed a few of his things here, so on and on in that respect. And for him to just take a lot of, the stuff in Nosferatu at face value and not treat the people living in that time, even fictionalized, as fools, or, people, again, to be derided or looked down upon, and aren't we so much better off now? It's refreshing. And frankly, if he's made some noise about doing something set, about the Crusades or in the medieval period, and him taking that stuff at face value would be interesting as well. So that's where I am with that.
All right, Alexis, take me home, baby doll.
Okay. Like I say, yeah, I'll save most of what I have to say about Nosferatu for next week's review. I will just say Robert Eggers continues to be the most atmospheric director I have ever seen. I have yet to see a man whose films consecutively draw me in like his do. Every time I watch one of his movies, I cannot look away. I am mesmerized by what I see on the screen. And that is so powerful. And that leads to the number one. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
I know I've discussed
every fucking year, man. Every year, you are as consistent as the morning sun.
I didn't put a Marvel movie for number one last year.
No, there's always something on your list that's fucking ridiculous.
Look.
Actually, I take that back. Chris Bailey, I'm sure thinks your list is the best list, and mine and Robin are two up our own asses.
Look, Deadpool and Wolverine gave me exactly what I thought it was going to give me, and I enjoyed every second of it. I love seeing Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds on screen. There's a reason these two are practically best friends in real life. It was so much fun watching them joke around and horse around. It was a great love letter to the Fox Marvel movies, the ones that even you liked or you didn't like. It was still a nice little farewell to what they had done in the past. There were so many moments that I just squeed, and my husband is staring at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, I am experiencing joy on an unprecedented level. Don't judge me. When Chris Evans shouted flame on, I lost it. When Gambit walked in, I wanted to jump up and shout, that one's for you, Mark. And when Jackman put on the mask, I could not I had the biggest smile on my face. I absolutely loved it. So, you know what, for that, like I said, I base my movies on what I think is both on a combination of what I think is just a genuinely good movie and what brings me the most joy. Deadpool and Wolverine brought the most joy this year. Okay?
No argument from me, madam.
My only counterpoint to that, and this is a really weird one, but bear with me. If you have never watched Deadpool and Wolverine with someone who did not watch the other X-Men, like the other Fox superhero movies, boy, are they confused. I have watched people watch that movie, and Wesley and Jennifer Garner shows up, and they go, "Who's that?" And then Blade walks out, and "Who's that?" And boy, do you have to be deep into Hollywood lore to get the Gambit reference.
To that point, I watched the pitch meeting. The guy did a supercut of his favorite pitch meetings from this past year. A little self-indulgent, but
it's year-end content. Be nice.
Yeah,
to
look,
George.
no,
He gives us
I'm
tons of laughs.
I'm not picking at him because it still makes me laugh every time he talks about. We're making a joke for people who were following movie news back then, but they are going to be very happy with that joke. And I'm like, you're talking to me. Thank you, Ryan George. I feel seen.
Like I wasn't joking about the whole "this one's free." I was that's literally all I could think of when I saw Channing Tatum walk on screen.
I face palmed so hard and went, son of a.
Literally, anyone who works for you, Mark, we watched this movie and we all thought, it's like, oh God, Mark's gonna freak. That is, we all had the same simultaneous.
That was my emotional reaction to that. Was Mark is going to be so happy.
It's great that I've touched as many people's lives as I have. All right, folks. Well, that is our top 10 and our bottom 5 for the year. Now for everyone's favorite section, and that is money. What?
Hang on. Did you want to give Alexis a shot to do the?
Oh shit! Yeah, thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Before we go into the money, Alexis wanted to do her top 5 best TV shows of the year.
Yeah, this is for those of you who actually do watch my show, the show that I host, TV Party Tonight, which I do host when Mark is gracious enough to let me.
There you go.
Okay, top 5 TV shows of 2024. Number 5, the first season of the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was very impressed with how they managed to combine the story arcs from so many episodes into one and actually make it work. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 changes that I thought, I don't know if I really agree with that. But so many of it, I mean, they managed to condense it down and it worked. I loved all the kid actors. Really looking forward to seeing what we get with season 2 with them bringing in Toph, who was a fan favorite character. I am still a little mad that they are not getting an actress who is on the blind spectrum.
Minor counterpoint on Avatar: The Last Airbender for me, because there's good things about it. Let me be very clear. What they did to Sokka is criminal, and changing.
I feel like Jonas mentioned that.
He did.
It really. Even the people who really like what they did with that on Netflix admit that what they did to Sokka is terrible.
Well, that's why it's number 5.
I also really dislike what they did with Zuko. Changing some of his backstory about how that played out, no.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, X-Men 97 Season 1, an awesome return to form for those of us who loved the 90s X-Men series. I loved how they were able to pull in so many of the comic book stories without feeling too rushed. We discussed it on the show. Maybe 1 or 2 more episodes to flesh it out probably could have done so well. Not to mention that moment with Gambit is going to live on in geek infamy. I don't know a single person.
Yeah, he's coming back.
I know he's coming back, but that doesn't change just how powerful that scene was. Okay, number 3, Fallout Season 1. It's one of the few I didn't get to review, but I still watched it. Loved it. Even if you're a fan of the game or not, I thought it was a great, fun take on a post-apocalyptic.
You can do Fallout Season 2 when that comes out.
Thank you very much. That was a great fun take on a post-apocalyptic world and how people might be surviving through that. I loved how they tried to explain certain things from the game. So if you were a fan of them, you might, get a little bit more of an enjoyment out of that. Just the fact that they actually explained where the blue and yellow uniform and the idea of the guy going like this. I thought that was terrific, and I love how they set it up.
The rule of thumb's been around forever.
Yeah, but they actually showed where that mascot kind of came from and how they worked it into it. And again, I thought that was actually, I'm not a fan of, we need a backstory, we need an explanation for everything, but I thought this one flowed naturally with Walter Goggins' character. And he was amazing in that, by the way.
Oh, he's always good.
Number 2.
Absolutely loved it. Okay, number 2 is Hazbin Hotel Season 1. Those of you who know me know that I have been waiting forever for that show to come on. I was thrilled when it was finally released. I hosted a freaking watch party with my friends on the night of the premiere. That's how excited I was. And it was awesome. And I loved it. And I have watched it several times. And season 2 is coming out. And I'm really happy for it. God bless you, Vizzy Pop. You are a treasure. Number 1, best show of 2024 is easily Shogun.
Easily.
That's
walking
on
away.
Everyone's list.
Yeah. Blew me away. Thank you again, Mr. David Wright, by the way, for being on the review and helping explain a lot of Japanese customs that would have just made me sound like a blabbling idiot.
Customs and the history, because that's the other thing he's really knowledgeable about. Yeah, that was a wonderful show to watch, wonderful review to be a part of. Best thing on television in a long time.
Absolutely. I still don't know what they're going to do because they confirmed they're doing season 2 and 3.
I don't know what they're going to do either, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that thing walked away with a ton of Emmys, and each one rightfully deserved.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of a single TV show I watched this year that came out this year. Like, I know we did Hysteria.
And Only Murders in the Building.
And Only Murders in the Building. You're not wrong. But I'm thinking back to like TV parties that I did, and I did Sons of Anarchy and Ash vs. Evil Dead, which are both older, than The Hills. We did Hysteria. We did Only Murders in the. I just did Heels with Jesse, but that's also not this year. Like, do I just not watch television? Jesus.
Not since you gave me the job. That you basically said you're sick of watching TV. Now it's my job.
Oh no. And then I came on and ruined The Acolyte.
The Acolyte ruined itself. Let's be clear.
Kidding. No, me being unable to control Doria talking about how a lightsaber is what ruined the Acolyte.
And me pissing off David for I don't know what reason.
I have apologized to him several times for that. Side note, honorable mentions to Creature Commandos, Only Murders in the Building Season 3, and Agatha All Along, which I didn't get a chance to watch this year because when we found out that I couldn't get anyone to review it with me, I said, fine, I'm not binging the hell out of this. So I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like if there's any.
Apparently, it's not good.
What are you talking about? Everyone said Agatha All Along was great.
Okay. I'm trying
we
to
obviously hang out in different circles.
Yes, clearly. I'm trying to think if there's anything in terms of like Pam and Tommy or Welcome to Chippendales that I watched this year, and I don't think there was. Like, I don't. Like, I'm thinking back.
The salacious sex stuff will come back next year, and you'll have a bunch of TV series.
Maybe I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch Shogun, which I wanted.
There was a second season of Monster that we missed, which I wanted to review, but I completely missed its announcement. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm now curious, but all right, I don't want to delay the show anymore. So here we go. Here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All right, shout out to Jesse, who not only on a whim made me a song. He's my sweetie. I have an idea. He was like, I'll have it to you in minutes. Oh my god. But he also every year does this for me. I do all the data entry where and I'll give you it's funny, I listened back to the last year's and you were like, please use different colors.
I asked for you to use a lighter shade of red because when it was the black text on the standard red, you cannot read it. Yeah, that was all.
Well, I didn't highlight anything this year. Jesse did all of this. So I do tabs for every major movie studio and some of the minor ones that had a lot of releases. Name of the movie, what the budget was, budget times 2, which is what we use for easy math and conversation. Worldwide gross, and then to determine profitability, we take the worldwide gross and we subtract from it the budget times 2, and that tells us if it's profitable or not. And I did all of the data entry for that today, and God bless him, the hero of the day, Jesse, sent me back the spreadsheet hours before our show with a lot of fancy graphics and extra tabs. So the short answer to who won 2024 is Disney with a Rocky 3-esque comeback. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's Disney with also a couple of major caveats.
It is, but people listening are just like, just tell us who won. Disney won. And
Disney decided that after 3 years of getting
punched in the kidneys.
I was going to say something very unkind. After 3 years of having, their teeth kicked in, they finally went, okay, let's do nothing but sequels to things people already like, and all of our major properties we're going to shove off another year.
Yeah.
This is going to bite, for the record, this is going to bite them in the ass this year.
Oh, yeah. This year coming up.
Hugely.
In the next segment when we do predictions, I don't want to be as negative and stupid as we were last year or the year before that, but I do have some thoughts. And my thoughts is, you did good, Disney, by, it was actually reminded of something that my son said. We walked out of Moana 2, And he was like, it's not a bad movie, but I kind of hate it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, because Moana 2 is a sign that we're going to get more of this. And I don't want that.
Holy crap, your son has turned into me in record time.
As hard as I tried. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He was like, this just, and we talked about Sequel Mania, and he was like, my God, this is going to be an unending torrent of just garbage coming out of Disney that people are going to think is amazing. And that's the thing is, like, we'll talk about it. It's on one of the tabs here. Moana 2 did well. Moana 2, not meant for theaters, but it was one of those where Bob Iger was like, what can we release this year that's going to make us some money?
And then The Rock came in and kind of smacked him with his dick and went, me.
Yeah,
okay.
All me.
Pretty much.
So Moana 2, which was supposed to be a Disney Plus TV show, now becomes a feature movie, and they're rewarded for their efforts. Which means, that's kind of the point that Jonas was making, is like, they're only going to do more of that sort of thing. Like, I think the Lilo and Stitch movie that's coming out next year was also not meant to be a theatrical exhibition. It is now. It is now. The other one, Inside Out 2, was also not meant to be a theatrical exhibition. It is now, and it's the number one.
Hang on. In fairness to that one, there was no reason for Inside Out 2 not to be a theatrical exhibition.
Agreed.
Okay, but my point is, like, my son's point and the greater point is that Disney's going to take all the wrong lessons for it because they were well rewarded for their business decisions this year.
Yeah.
They won. They are the number one studio of the year after a record loss of $553 million last year. Thank you, Jesse, for this comparing chart, because I didn't do this. They made a profit of $3 million. Second is Universal.
Hang on. That's in millions.
Yeah.
That's like 300 million, right?
Yeah.
Or is that a decimal? I can't see.
Well, that's a comma. And
okay, so that is 3,000 millions.
So 3 billion.
No, guys. I think what he did was.
Oh no. Okay, I see what you mean. So that is.
That's what's after you take away cost. That's what's left.
Okay.
So it's a $3 million profit.
Oh, okay. I see what you. I thought that was like.
They didn't make $3 million this year. That'd be insane. Fucking one movie made $1 billion. They're saying when you take away all the losses here. Let's go to the Disney chart. So if you look at how much they spent, right, on all these movies times 2, and then you look at what the collective worldwide gross was, and then what made money. So you have to take away all of this that they lost from all of this that they earned. That gives you what they gave you.
Well, Complete Unknown was a last.
Still doesn't seem right.
Well, that was the last release of the year, so obviously they're banking more on that to make money, especially since, like you said, it's probably going to get a couple Oscar
nominations. I'm not kicking the Complete Unknown. It's just that's where we are right now. I got to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
All right.
That's got to be okay. Oh no, that's like 300 million.
Okay.
All right. So anyway,
that's got to be more what that means, because otherwise that makes no sense.
Universal made less of a profit this year than they did last year.
They were like the only ones who made a profit last year.
Warner Brothers barely made a profit. Sony made even less, and then Neon actually made a tiny little profit for an independent studio. And then A24 has not had a decent year since the year Anything Anywhere All at Once came out.
Everything Everywhere.
Sorry.
A24 actually announced recently that they're trying to move away from only releasing super independent films, that they're trying to move into becoming a larger studio because they realize they're not going to make enough of a profit if they are just the tiny studio for the entirety.
And then as much as I think they have adults running Paramount, you wouldn't know it by this year. They also did not make any money this year. And then MGM Amazon would have been fine, if you look at their chart, the Red One just murdered this fucking studio. Not that it matters.
Yeah,
it really did. Minor note on Paramount: a big chunk of their losses this year were the inflated budget around the Mission Impossible movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is done because Tom Cruise insisted on keeping all of the production company paid through shutdowns.
Okay, that was last year. This year, Better Man, again, which just came out, kind of killed it. Sonic isn't profitable just yet. Maybe it will be. Transformers 1 bombed.
Yeah.
If bombed. But it may, its most profitable movie this year was A Quiet Place. So let me go all the way back to the beginning. I just wanted to, that's the headline. If anyone cares, Disney was rewarded for its business decisions. It won big time. It is by far the leader in profit. The rest of the studios are fucking struggling. Like, this is, like, when you look at...
Well, that's got to be, okay, that's got to be 300. That's not 300, it's 3,000. So 3,000 millions. Yeah, they had to have been.
So he made another chart here. This is sorted by profit. The most profitable movie this year was Inside Out 2. And then
Not surprising.
Then Deadpool and Wolverine, Despicable Me 4 from Universal, and then we're back to Disney again, and then Kung Fu Panda. So I want to take these one by one, just kind of walk people through them. Universal was profitable. It won last year. I was like crowing about it. Of the 22 movies, it looks like about a half and half. Half are profitable, half weren't. Despicable Me 4 is the most profitable one this year. Kung Fu Panda, and I think that says something about Universal, though, that its most profitable movies were both animated.
Animated and fourth entry sequels.
Yeah. Wicked's the only exception. You have The Wild Robot, which deserves, all the money and all the praise. Other profitable movies were Twisters, Speak No Evil, Night Swim, Conclave, and Monkey Man. Movies that just failed. What a murderer's row this is. Back to Black, Abigail, Lisa Frankenstein, Piece by Piece, Drive Away Dolls, The American Society of Magical Negroes, which I don't even understand how that one got greenlit or put in theaters.
That was a weird decision all around.
Mm-hmm.
The Bike Riders, Nosferatu's, it may be profitable. It's not
again, we're gonna hit a few of these as we go through this that are newer additions that the jury's still out on.
Right. Yeah, they just haven't. It's like you can't make that much money in one or two weekends. You just can't.
Tell that to Avatar, but
the biggest bomb of the year was
we
the
don't
Fall
talk
Guy.
about James Cameron.
The Fall Guys were as good as it was. Just missed the target entirely.
Yeah, Fall Guys we actually predicted would have the best shot at being in the top 10. We figure I said it had a chance. I said it had a really good chance of being in the top 10. You guys said it could as well.
Yeah.
But man, it just never found an audience. And then you also had Argyle, which
we were so off on that.
Yeah. All right. So
we had high hopes for that. We had such high hopes.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney had a really good year with a very conservative slate. You had Inside Out 2, Deadpool, Moana, Alien, Romulus, Kingdom of the Planet Apes, and A Real Pain, all profitable. If you take off the Mufasa, The Lion, and Complete Unknown, which just came out last week or 2 weeks ago, the only ones left that didn't make money are The First Omen and Kinds of Kindness, and that's a who gives a fuck. So this year...
Hang on. Here's the thing about Disney's profitability this year, and it needs to be said out loud.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed back they were able to extend the timer on the time bombs that are going to go off in 2025.
Yeah. I can think of at least two of them that one's an Indiana Jones situation, and the other one is, boy, do you not know your audience. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. All right, Warner Brothers had a disaster of a fucking year.
Again, one of the reasons that I said Joker Folie à Deux is one of my worst movies of the year is this. Yeah. This is one of my considerations. When I say it shouldn't exist, I mean Todd Phillips should not have solicited that much money, and Warner Brothers should have had not Lizard Brain.
Yeah. So Dune Part 2 did well. Godzilla vs. times Kong. I mean, when you think about over the course of things, the MonsterVerse didn't make nearly the kind of money they wanted it to. They
wanted billion-dollar franchise. What they got was steadily profitable, but never a smash hit.
Yeah, no. Beetlejuice also underperformed, and Trap was fine. But the rest of these, especially Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, that had a net loss of $162 million. Joker Folie à Deux almost $200 million. Giant bombs.
I would love to see a conversation between M. Night Shyamalan and his daughter about why maybe she should move away from directing films.
All right, this brings us to Sony, which is hilarious to me because this year was the death of the Sony Spider-Man universe. I mentioned it on the last show. I watched It Ends With Us. Finally, it's the most profitable movie of the year. Seems to have done well with women. It's worth a watch. Venom, again, being rewarded for bad products. That was the second most profitable movie. Bad Boys, Garfield, Taro, and Ghostbusters Frozen barely eked out a profit.
Taro did better than Saturday Night.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Speaking of dead brands, Ghostbusters, dead as a fucking doornail. Stop making those movies. Just stop for a while.
For some reason, nobody in charge of there understands how to make that work. And
I get, Alexis, probably cringed when I said that, but
look, I said that Ghostbusters would be in the top 10 this year. I was wrong. Robert, you were right. You said it wouldn't. And I love Ghostbusters. I do. And it's purely through my love of the nostalgia of it that I am unable to let go.
Other movies that failed miserably. Afraid, Harold and the Purple Crayon, Saturday Night, The Book of Clarence, another one I don't understand why it was greenlit in the first place. Here, which I saw it was interesting, another weird one. Madam Web, Fly Me to the Moon, that was a giant bomb, but the biggest bomb of the year was Kraven the Hunter.
I thought Fly Me to the Moon was another one that should have probably gone straight to streaming.
That was one that felt like a straight to streaming movie.
It was supposed to go, and people got lizard brain. All right, Paramount. First of the major studios that had a negative profit. Their biggest movie of the year was A Quiet Day One. Currently, it's Better Man, but maybe that'll make more money. Probably not. I don't know how many people care about Robin Williams being a chimp. Transformers 1, like I said, bombed, and Sonic is too early. And yeah, If was supposed to be a big hit for them. It was not.
Yeah, Sonic 3 is pretty clearly going to wind up profitable when it's all said and done, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, Amazon doesn't really care. they can.
Here's what they should take away from this: more Jason Statham.
Yeah, I don't think we glanced over The Beekeeper. I don't think any of us expected it to do what it did.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, and for a while that was kind of like my Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, why?
Yeah, that was your sticking point. The fentanyl corpse of the Beekeeper hanging out in the top 10. You're like, why?
How do you suck this bad at your job, Lionsgate?
Wow, The Strangers Chapter 1 was their most profitable movie.
Yeah, 31.
Oh my god!
Look at this. All of these movies. Ordinary, Miller's Girl, 1992, Never Let Go, Whitebird, Boy Kills World, Killer's Game, The Crow, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and Borderlands. And I don't know if I want to count Megalopolis because I'm not entirely sure how much that affected the studio.
Megalopolis was almost entirely self-funded by Francis Ford Coppola, so I'm not going to hold that too much against them. But even without it,
I love all the reviewers who came on screen holding a bottle of Coppola's wine. It's like, yeah, I helped fund it, and now I'm going to get drunk after seeing this piece of shit.
At this point, Lionsgate needs to be rescued by Netflix or Amazon or I don't know.
Amazon can't. If Amazon tries, they're running up too much against antitrust situations.
Then Netflix needs to go rescue Lionsgate from its fucking self. All right, A24. A24 does not like to publish fucking budgets.
No, they don't want to be publicly embarrassed by people like us.
Yeah.
For the record, Sing Sing, does anyone know where you can find that? Because I really want to see that.
Yeah.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I have an app that tells you where you can stream stuff. But yeah, A24 not having a good year. Neon didn't do too bad. Neon, their most profitable movie was Long Legs. It also has a Nora and Immaculate. Cuckoo's the only one that didn't really make a profit, but who cares? All right, so that
it's apparently on Apple TV.
Oh, figures.
It's probably
one I don't have.
It's probably a rental, guys. You're seeing the Apple TV thing. It usually means you can probably rent a PVOD from anywhere that you do PVOD.
Yeah, that was one that I saw show up on a lot of best of lists for this last year, and I really want to see it. It looks really good.
So that kind of an abbreviated one because of the time it's taken to do the show, but also I'm not,
No, actually, you can't get it on Amazon.
Oh, okay. I'll look at it when the show's over.
I was gonna say it's like I Googled it on Amazon. It showed me something else called Sing Sing. I don't know what that was.
This is apparently not available for streaming.
Oh, Well, that I hope it doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, then we're fucked. Let me say this. Last year, we did an extended bid on this because we were, like, screaming at Disney, fix it. And they listened. They fixed it all right. There's really not much to say beyond that, you know? It's... once again, Universal is consistently the best studio out there. But they got beat by Disney, who threw a Hail Mary and completed a pass in the end zone. What are you gonna do?
Look, Disney's success this year is predicated on two factors, and it leads to their, almost like leads to their significant profit, which is probably, I think, when you add it all up, I'm still trying to figure that out. It's probably in the $3 billion range for profit.
Remember,
they should
total profits. That was what's left after you take away cost.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But if you're getting to 3,000 millions, like, you got to move the decimal point a few places to do the calculations on that. Anyway, they should not get a lot of credit for Deadpool and Wolverine, because largely all they did was take something that was already there and release it.
I was gonna say, last year Mark, you said you wanted you figured Deadpool 3 would be the #1 movie of the year, and Robert, you said you were praying for it to burn.
I was, and I still am.
All right. So let's go ahead, and we're gonna move.
And we all missed Inside Out 2 being a giant hit. We all missed that wide.
We said it would be in the top 10, but I don't think any of us predicted it would be the #1 movie.
No, not by a long shot. I was really shocked by that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do the final segment of the show. This is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm going to throw it to Alexis first to do our predictions from last year, which is why I didn't want to do them this year. It's because it's not good. But we're also going to look ahead at the movies coming up in 2025, and we're going to live make our schedule. It's mostly made at this point. I just needed to finalize it. But this is just an opportunity for me to read my schedule on air and subject people to my type A-ism. So here we go.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, I'm going to take it downscreen from just a second. All right, Alexis, whip through our predictions from last year real quick.
Okay. First of all, did you end up showing the original Color Purple to your daughter?
Took it for her birthday. We loved it.
Okay. All right.
The original, not the new one.
Did Mean Girls...
No. Wait, did you were asking me about the new one or the old one?
You said you took your daughter to see the new one and she loved it. Robert asked if you were going to show her the original, and you said it was on your to-do list for the year.
Oh, no. Never happened. No.
Okay. Did Mean Girls beat Wonka? That was one of the questions we were debating about for a while.
Ooh. That was...
That weekend?
Yeah, we were. That was seriously something. It took us forever. We were talking for a while about whether or not the Mean Girls musical would take out Wonka.
Hang on. Keep going.
Okay, Mark, you predicted that Sonic 3 would actually hit the top 3 movies of the year, but unfortunately, it is way too early in the game to predict that. You were certain that Despicable Me 4 would also be in the top 10. You said Dune would be in the top 10 easily. Like I said earlier, you predicted Deadpool 3 would be the #1 movie of the year. Robert, you predicted Kung Fu Panda 4 would be in the top 10. You said there was no way Godzilla X Kong was going to be in it. And you also said that Civil War will be God is Not Dead for liberals. Do you stand by that?
Hang on 1 second.
Civil War is God is Not Dead for liberals. I actually do stand by.
It's like, that's what you said, quote unquote.
All right. So Mean Girls was the number. Mean Girls came out, I guess, the weekend of January 12th. All right, so Wonka, it looks like, was the #1 movie January 5th through the 7th. Mean Girls was the #1 movie, it looks like, January 12th through the 14th, January 19th to the 21st, and the 28th, and then it was beat by Argyle.
Okay, so yeah, it did knock off Wonka.
Huh.
Okay, again, I wanted Ghostbusters to be in the top 10. Robert, you disagreed with me. You were right. I said Fall Guy had a really good chance of being in the top 10. You both agreed with me, and we all agreed that Inside Out 2 would be in the top 10. That's what I got for our predictions. I apologize. wasn't able to get some of the later month predictions because I ran out of time.
It's fine. We had something to say about every fucking movie that year, so it was a very long segment.
Well, unfortunately, that was the problems. I had to keep fast forwarding because it's like, oh, okay, Robert's going to be talking a while about the Planet of the Apes movies, and then yeah, I mentioned to you that we took forever talking about the movie Ballerina, and that got delayed a year.
It did.
Right. So I can't show two screens at once, so I'm just kind of showing the movies. But so this week we've got Nosferatu, and then the weekend the 10th. Actually, I gotta run real quick. Robert, vamp for me.
Alrighty. So I can't scroll Mark's screen, but I have that same list up, so I will be able to do this for a little bit. So I believe our first review is actually going to be Wolfman.
Looking forward to that. Jason's on for that one, I think.
Yeah, I tend to enjoy Lee Whannell's work. I don't love all of it, but
loved The Invisible Man. I thought he did a really great job.
I really wish they'd had the balls to stick with the right ending to that movie. Because when Mark and I reviewed it, I was on board with that movie until they tacked on the ending where she got to confront the ex who faked his death. That felt so tacked on. I actually thought it was stronger to have his brother having been the one who was tormenting her with the suit.
Yeah, I was on that review, wasn't I?
I think you were.
Yeah, I was, because I remember starting out saying we should put on the domestic abuse hotline because of what the lead character went through.
Okay, so the weekend of the 10th, there's Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, and Hazard. One is by Lionsgate.
I don't think we're reviewing any of that.
No, we're not.
I haven't even heard of any of those.
I've seen the previews for the trailers for Den of Thieves 2. I never got around to watching Den of Thieves 1. I might throw it on when I'm doing something else.
I was going to say, I'm sorry, I saw Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Oh, so that's an album cover, right?
All right, so
a vulgar display of bad budgetary management.
Okay. The Last Showgirl goes into wide release on the 10th. It's out now in limited release, but it goes wide release on the 10th.
I have heard really good things about that.
So myself and Robert are doing a triple feature so we can play some catch up. The Last Showgirl, Honora, and Amelia Perez. We can get those.
Oh,
and that's why
God,
we're doing
not
it that
Amelia.
way.
I looked at the synopsis for Amelia Perez and wanted to die.
Yeah, well, it's got a shit ton of Golden Globe nominations, so you might as well see it because it's probably going to pop.
Oh, a queer musical. Whatever will I do? Of course, it's nomination.
This is the editing process. Do you want me to change it?
No, I can't.
Then
he's a glutton for punishment. Make him suffer.
Then shut your whore mouth.
I understand the purpose. I'm just saying.
Okay. Moving on. The 17th is Wolfman. That's the big one of that weekend. Along with is One of Them Days, Back in Action, which is on Netflix. Alarum, which is Lionsgate. Paramount Plus movie, Henry Danger, and Both Eyes Open, which doesn't have a hyperlink. So, yes, we will be doing Wolfman, and that is, I think, the first proper Damn You Hollywood for the year of our Lord 2025.
It is.
And that is the 20th. We are following it up the following week. So on the 24th, I'm not reviewing, not with you people at least. I'm not reviewing any of these movies. It's Flight Risk, Lionsgate coming out of the gate with like 1,000 releases. Presents.
Can I tell you? I saw the trailer for Flight Risk.
Yeah.
That is another one of those that I think is a very interesting premise that is going to die over a 90-minute runtime.
That's the Mark Wahlberg movie, right?
Yeah.
Paramount's got a Star Trek movie coming out. There's this movie called Inheritance from that conservative studio, Brave the Dark. And then Screamboat, which is the one where they took the Steamboat Willie, who's now in public domain.
Oh God, it's the new Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
So I'm trying to convince the guys that movies don't suck to do that, and I'll do that with them. But so that's a bye week for us, which means that's another Oscar show. That's currently I have it as Blitz, Conclave, and The Brutalist. That may change. The Oscars are scheduled to be announced on the 17th, so I will adjust as needed. And that is January. Robert, yay or nay?
I mean, I'm looking at it, and January sucks.
Yeah, moving on. All right, so
I was going to say, Deadpool may have saved February. Megan did not save January.
Alrighty, so January is pretty solid. I really do want to kind of speed this up a little bit. So you're good with the schedule as it is?
Again, that second triple feature is very in flux at the moment, but yeah,
Yes.
I can live with that.
Moving on to February. All right. So January 31st, we've got Dogman, Companion, Love Me, Valiant One, and Like Father, Like Son. I don't want to review any of these.
You are not the only one who doesn't want to review any of that.
Love Me
Terrific.
just got a trailer release. They are waiting. They brought that one down to the wire.
They really did.
So instead, you and I talked about doing a couple of triple feature director focuses, just me and you. So instead of that, we're going to do, instead of a Damn You Hollywood that week, which is kind of the way I did this. Anytime we weren't doing a Damn You Hollywood, I backfilled a triple feature with me and you and whoever else inserts themselves into mine and your time. This particular case is Joel Schumacher doing The Lost Boys, Falling Down, and 8mm.
We chose an eclectic series of his filmography because those are three very different movies.
Yeah, they
Could
are.
have been worse. You could have added number 23 to that.
Moving on. So February 7th, there's two movies here. My kids something moved out of this spot, which left it open. And then my kids saw the trailer for Love Hurts and was like this all day long.
I am very interested in Love Hurts.
All right, so Love Hurts is on the schedule for February 10th, which brings us to Bridget Jones, Mad About the White. Just kidding. For Captain America.
I was gonna say.
Captain America, Brave New World comes out February 14th.
So Disney has decided that we're going to detonate this particular atomic device.
All right, so you asked me to make some predictions. This is one of my predictions. This is going to bomb because there's no fucking way this makes it to $1 billion, and it has to cover the production cost of having shot this movie 4 times.
So here, the general pitch I made for this was, instead of us making big predictions about every movie we're going to discuss very briefly here, I want everyone to have 2 movies from this list that they think are going to be in the top 10, and 2 movies that they think are going to bomb.
Okay. Well, this is my
I am joining you on the Bomb Express for this thing. I don't think it's going to be good to begin with, to say nothing of the production budget now being like $300 million, to say nothing of marketing, because they've shot this thing 3 times and are still shooting and are still doing reshoots as we speak. The production for this has been a disaster, the likes of which would make a better story than what they're putting on screen.
Yeah, this is this year's Fan 4 Stick. The story behind the movie is more interesting than what the fucking movie is going to be. And I want to go ahead and say, putting Red Hulk in the trailer was a giant mistake. You have left nothing for other than what Weirdo's head's going to look like, who's playing the leader. There's nothing left for the fans to get excited about. I think this movie is a giant disaster every way you look at it. And now defending this, defending this client from execution, Alexis Hejna, your opening statements, madam.
Opening statement is that.
Perfect. Well said.
That with the Death's Head moth attached.
You gonna say something important here, or am I moving on?
I don't. Okay, look. I am still excited to see it. The trailers have gotten me hyped. I am well aware of the budgetary problems. I am well aware of how much money it needs to make. So while I cannot say that it will be in the green for Disney, I am still looking forward to seeing it. Okay.
No one's debating that.
It's like, look, I am well aware of the facts, but I'm telling you, I still want to go.
Okay. No, literally none of us were arguing that with you. All right. So the 17th is Captain America, which brings us to the 21st. We have The Unbreakable Boy, the monkey from Neon, Cleaner, River, and then Old Guy.
I was going to say, Robert, aren't we reviewing The Monkey?
I know we've discussed it. I don't know if it had been finalized.
You are free to do so, not on Monday. Monday is going to be the Best Picture show. So a lot of times, like I said, I need space to do things. And so like on a weekend, I don't want to review something. That's the space I'm going to use. So I'm not going to do The Monkey. You guys can do The Monkey on a different day. That Monday is our Best Picture Contender show that this will be, I think, the 3rd year we've done this.
You're right. I already got that on the schedule. So.
All right, moving on.
I am willing to do the monkey with you. Some of my schedule pendings. I mean, I got to wait a little bit to see a few of those things, but I'm willing. And Osgood Perkins, much as I kind of, was iffy on him earlier, I'm down to watch him adapt a Stephen King short story.
All right.
Okay.
We'll let Dorian and Jason know if they want to join in.
Moving on to March. We've got nothing. As near as I can tell, February 28th, we got Last Breath from Focus.
Oh, we got the day the Earth blew up.
I apologize. Yes, the problem is I have things on my calendar when I'm going to see them, as opposed to when they come out. Okay. So rewind. My mistake. On the 28th is the day the Earth blew up, and we will all be hosted by me reviewing the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie. That is me, you, Robert, and Zach.
What day are we reviewing that? On the 3rd of March?
3rd of March.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving on. The next one is the 7th of March. We got Mickey 17 on Becoming a Guinea Fowl, the Senior, and Ephus. We will be reviewing Mickey 17.
Yep. And I tend to enjoy Junho Bong's work, so be interested to see that.
Likewise.
All right, so here's a small conversation piece. I originally had Black Bag by Steven Soderbergh because I like Steven Soderbergh as the movie we're going to review from this batch. It is Black Bag from Focus, Novocaine from Paramount, Opus A24, and then the other one's a Netflix movie that's a whole other subject. So of the 3 major releases that week, my kids saw the trailer for Novocaine. Jason bothered me about wanting to review Novocaine. I felt like I got bullied into doing this one, even though I don't want to. So I decided to switch it to Novocaine. Any objections?
Hang on.
I want to see Novocaine, so
I have seen the trailers for both Black Bag and Novocaine.
Mm-hmm.
I am fine with either. I will make do.
Okay.
I don't have a strong opinion.
Yeah. Like I said, I would have preferred to have done Black Bag just because I think Steve Soderbergh is an interesting director. But there's nothing to say that I can't deal with it later in the year or go on the other guy's show and do it. So it's fine. So that's the 17th. All right. Well, here's a fun thing. So on the March 21st, we have Snow White starring everyone's favorite sweetie, America's Sweetheart, Rachel Zegler. We have Alto Nights from Warner Brothers, directed by Barry Levinson. We have The Friend from Bleecker Street, Ash from a bunch of different fucking small studios, directed by Flying
Shutter.
Lotus. And then we have Magazine Dreams from Briarcliff. And obviously we're going to do Snow White. That is my second prediction. Now I'm done. Snow White is going to bomb fucking hard.
I agree with you. This is not my second pick simply because I knew you were going to, and I would like to take at least one risk in my selections, and Snow White is as guaranteed a bomb as you're going to get.
Yeah, no one's going to see fucking Snow White. They have, first of all, Rachel Zegler has made herself look like ass. And I don't know if you guys paid attention to the election, but this country is in no fucking mood for Rachel Zegler's shit or anybody else that sounds like her. None. Zero. That is not me taking. That is not me taking a side. That is my observation from the poop deck.
Again, this is not an endorsement of the state of the market. This is an observation about the market.
Yeah.
I was mostly just looking at Magazine Dreams, and it's like, holy shit, Jonathan Majors is in a movie? I wonder how long they've been sitting on that.
A while.
He's apparently going to be in the new Avengers movie, too, at least briefly, but I don't want to talk about that. Anyway.
He is going to be CGI'd into it, is what's going to happen.
And he's going to have Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom punching the crap out of him into oblivion.
Who cares? More importantly, Snow White is going to have a huge budget because they've had to reshoot it. They had to insert fucking CGI dwarves.
I cannot begin to tell you those production still photos that they released. Like, these weren't even leaks. This was like, hey, here's our big, spread to remind people this is in production and it's nearing the end. And everyone looked at what's supposed to be the 7 dwarves, and they look like something that you would see in a community theater. And part of the logic was, well, no, they're not dwarves because we think that's pejorative and Peter Dinklage will get mad at us. So instead, they're the 7 nature spirits, and everybody flipped their tables.
Yeah.
So they went, oh crap, how quickly can we CGI over all this?
This is a
You-
disaster of epic proportions, and it's going to bomb terribly.
There's an audio clip I need to send you guys. Have either of you heard of Brad Williams?
Yeah.
Yes.
Stand-up comedian.
He's not thrilled with Peter Dinklage taking fucking jobs from
Exactly. He did there. I've got one of his one of his earlier collections on saved on YouTube, and he does this great bit talking about being a dwarf and looking for work, and when Snow White movies come up, and I have got to send it to you guys because it is hilarious.
So we're gonna review it, but this is gonna be, I would say, of everything that I've said so far, unless something is drastically bad, this is gonna be the first Mark and Robert like hate-a-thon. Like this is, I don't know if it's gonna be that year's The Crow, but if you're just like, hey, I'm here for a good old-fashioned Mark and Robert hate fuck-a-thon, well, the first one of the year scheduled is Snow White block timeout.
I'll pop some popcorn.
Are you gonna skip that one?
I will happily sit through it with you guys if you want me on there too.
I don't ask. You have to tell me you want to be on something. I'm just
okay.
I would be shocked if you didn't come on.
Well, normally I skip the movies that I know I'm going to hate because I don't want to give money to those people and make them think I support that shit. But I occasionally do enjoy a good hate fuck fest.
Sounds great. My kind of woman. All right. The next one is There's Nothing on the 28th I want to review. It's The Woman in the Yard from Universal. Working Man from Amazon MGM from David Ayer.
Oh God, ugh, I hate David Ayer's work.
And then a Disney Plus movie for someone that could give a shit about.
Hang on, as a guy a little bit more amenable to Ayer, not hugely, but a little bit. I don't hate the cast.
For the David Ayer movie?
Yeah.
I give David Ayer some credit. He came out recently. Apparently, he gave positive plugs to the Superman trailer, and a lot of fans steamrolled over him because he did the first Suicide Squad, which everyone wants to forget. And they're like, "You did the good Suicide Squad, man. You should be mad at James Gunn for taking over." And Ayer was like, yeah, that's not the way it works. I'm not going to be petty and hold a grudge against James Gunn over this.
I don't know. I'm getting kind of plain vibes from this, where like I feel like if we watch this, we would be pleasantly surprised at a movie for guys who like movies. I will tell you what's in that spot currently is something fun that I wanted to do, a triple feature of just April, the slasher film from the 80s, April Fool's Day, Slaughter, High, and Killer Party, because it's the day before April Fool's. But I can kill that one, and we can do what is this called again? A Working Man, if you want. That's you have to be a big boy and actually state what you need, friend.
I think I'd rather do that.
Okay.
I'd rather do this movie.
Done.
The triple feature?
No, this.
No, I'm gonna kill the triple feature entirely. And then now I'm gonna get emails like, wait, what happened here? All right, I'm putting it on. See, this is why we're doing this. Damn you, Hollywood. A Working Man, is that the title? Yeah.
I'll admit, if Sylvester Stallone's working on the screenplay, it has a better chance, because David Ayer's screenplays, I'm not a huge fan on. The man really lacks subtlety. The fact that he actually wrote in the Bright movie, fairy lives don't matter.
Yeah, again, I'm not the biggest fan of his, but he's done a few things that I've enjoyed, and when he's able to kind of lean into the really gritty stuff, I'm down. And he did Beekeeper, which we were generally positive on. So, again, not everything he does is a hit, but I think we will usually wind up at least having something to talk about with his stuff.
All right, that brings us into April, and obviously we have to do a Minecraft movie. I'm out of things I'm allowed to predict are going to be bad, right?
You are out of things you're allowed to. Hang on, bomb, not be bad. I'm talking financial returns, not.
We're talking you're hitting the button with the plane.
Okay, got it.
And yes, you are. I said 2. Everybody gets 2.
I'm done now. I'm shutting up. But
this is not my prediction, but I don't think you're wrong.
Let me say this: this is my Mufasa. This is a movie Not my kids aren't interested in. I'm not interested in. My ex-wife will send me an eye roll emoji over. But damn it, we're a slave to the schedule.
Can't we do your triple feature that week?
No. Is anyone excited for this movie? I'll answer that. No. Nobody wants this.
Okay. I work with like 7 to 9-year-olds a few times a week. Not once every other week. That should be the group that's excited about this.
They are not.
They are not.
They're not, because all they do in Minecraft is build a giant penis and laugh at it.
You know that's actually a thing in game dev. They abbreviate anytime you give players the ability to create and draw, they have what's called the TTP, and they guess about it.
Super.
It's
Moving
time
on.
to penis.
Well, that's my new phrase that pays. It's time to penis.
I was gonna say, you ever seen Brental Floss's Minecraft song? It's like, you can build anything like a giant penis or another giant penis or a surprise giant penis or a golden giant penis, and just all the
Speaking of giant penises, April 11th is nothing I want to review. We have The Amateur from 20th Century Studios, though. Now I gotta reconsider this because now my son's talking about wanting to go see The Amateur.
Okay, why?
He saw the trailer. He likes it.
Rami Malek, ew.
We don't have to. My son's not in charge of this podcast. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm looking through some of the rest of this.
Request, could you open the King of Kings? Because that cast alone has caught my attention.
That is a weird cast. You're right.
An upcoming animated Christian film.
Oh, God. That explains it. Never mind.
Yeah, moving on.
Sorry, I was like, Kenneth Branagh?
No, you're fine. I didn't know what it was.
It's like, I didn't realize they were doing voiceover work. Never mind.
First of all, it was Angel Studios. There's your sign, madam.
Fair enough.
Be nice to Angel Studios. We need more. Only to say we just need stuff that aren't the major studios getting success out there.
No argument for me, but I also know who Alexis is.
But look at the director. It's clearly an East Asian production, and these are the actors who agreed to work for scale to do the dubbing.
All right. So are we doing The Amateur, drop, or can I leave it as is? As is currently a triple feature you and I are doing, focusing on. Fuck, who is this? I don't know, but it's Bad Lieutenant, Copland, and the Duelists.
Oh, hang on. Let me bring up my calendar because you do have a note on that one. Best Picture, Nova Kane, Snow White. Hang on, one more. That is
Harvey Keitel, maybe?
No. Crap, hang on. Because I looked it up.
It has to be whoever directed Bad Lieutenant, no?
I think that's right. Hang on.
Anyway, are we leaving it, or did you want to insert?
Bad Lieutenant is directed by... It's not the director.
All right, we can figure it out later. In any case, am I leaving it there, or?
Yeah, I'll leave that.
Okay, so we're not doing
That
either. We're not doing amateur or drop. Yes.
Correct.
Moving on. All right, April 18th. I currently don't have. That's Easter weekend. I will tell you what is that weekend is WrestleMania. I don't have any plans to review it at this point. I can. I know you're going to watch or be forced to cover it or something. I think I left it open for that reason.
I am not currently scheduled to cover any pay-per-views for 2025 yet. We'll see. I usually get tagged in on different potentially. So if I do cover Mania, it's usually night one is the one that no one else can get a Saturday off, and UFC isn't really running things opposite WrestleMania now that they're both owned by the same company. So
I'm
I don't know.
I'm open to doing. I did it with Ronnie last year. I'm open to doing it again, either a TV party or a Whiskey Rebellion, talking WrestleMania weekend. Or I know you don't want to do the Ryan Coogler movie, and I'm not asking you to. I don't want to do it either. That's Sinners. Then you have from Briarcliff is Sneaks. Then the Wedding Banquet. Hell of a Summer from Neon, and yeah, so it's a bunch of bullshit that weekend that I don't want to deal with.
I would be most interested in Sinners, despite my sort of antipathy for Coogler in a lot of respects.
Are you out of your? Sorry, who am I talking to?
Look, The trailer actually gave me a little bit of interest.
Okay.
It's not of the list there. Like if you tell me pick one of these,
Mm-hmm.
Sinners does look the best out of those.
Sinners does look to be the most interesting.
right.
I would be more amenable to a WrestleMania thing or taking the week off, but
Okay.
you can put a gun to my head about that group of movies.
Well, again, which way? What am I doing here? Because at this point, I'm kind of
leave it for WrestleMania. That's
all right. So
probably best.
So Whiskey Rebellion WrestleMania weekend.
Sure.
Super. Whiskey Rebellion WrestleMania weekend. So like we do all of like the Hall of Fame and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of your general.
We talk about everything going on that weekend. NXT, I just kind of whip it all out in one shot.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make sure I put you in here because I'm gonna look at this later on and be like, who do I have for this? All right,
that's the ritual does actually look kind of interesting.
Okay, moving on.
That's more for my notes than for yours. Don't worry about it.
I don't have anything for the 25th. The 25th is The Accountant 2 and Until Dawn, which is Screen
Can't
Gems.
believe they're making a sequel to The Accountant.
So Until Dawn looks like it's a video game adaptation. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, based on the video game. Yeah.
So I don't have anything for that. In that place for that Monday, you and I talked about doing this. I have that triple feature for Volcano, Dante's Peak, and The Core.
Yeah, we're just doing some fun disaster movies that weekend. I am more than happy to keep that where it is.
Moving on to May. All right.
Starting with another bomb.
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about bombs anymore.
Not my second official prediction, but come on.
I don't want to get into a long conversation about this. I think Thunderbolts. I don't know what the budget is at this point. If it's still within reason, I think it'll get to the 500 millions and probably stay there. And
there's a decent chance it's profitable, but it's also relying on, hey, here's all these characters that nobody saw.
I think the Marvel hype machine will be back. I think people will be cautiously optimistic.
No. You're going to be coming off of the bomb of Captain America BNWO.
My stance on Thunderbolts is I think as long as it's not complete dreck, it'll stay in the 500 millions. I think people will be okay with it, and it'll be as quickly forgotten as it was seen. You have any thoughts on Thunderbolts, Alexis?
I think I want to see it. The trailer got me excited.
Here's Ghost. Remember Ghost?
Shut up, Robert. Just let her
Hey, Bucky's entrance in the trailer was all kind of badassery.
Badass.
You mean the guy who should have been Captain America?
Badass.
For God's sakes!
All right, moving on.
Yeah, sorry. Still a Marvel fan. Get over it.
Hey, be excited. I wish you the best. I sincerely hope you enjoy it.
All right, so the 9th is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Golden? Okay, so they've changed the name from Atlantis to Golden. Robert, you're out. I threw you out of this one. Everybody else is okay with doing it, though. This is the Pharrell musical.
I am happy to take the week off.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that, yes. Alexis, I think I have you on for that as well. I think that one was, you, Dorian, and Mick.
Okay.
I think I drafted you into this.
So yeah, Golden... I was gonna say it's like, with all due respect, if I'm in, I think I think you volunteered me, but
that's fine.
Okay.
Golden is an upcoming American coming-of-age musical comedy drama directed by Michael Gondry and co-produced by Pharrell. Set in 1977, the film draws inspiration from Virginia Beach's Atlantis apartments. This was
I do like Michel Gondry's films.
Yeah, so I think this would be a good one to do, and it'd be a good one to leave Robert out of. The 16th is Final Destination Bloodlines.
Why are they still making those?
Because if they don't, they're going to lose the rights to it.
Just let Tony Todd rest in peace, you assholes.
So that's getting a full wide release. I don't see any reason to not do it. Moving on.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Against Lilo and Stitch.
Okay,
wow.
so this one made my kids fucking cry. Let me explain what's happening here. So up to this point, there was room to move things around. Now we're into the dog days of summer where there's no room for fucking anything. Every week is something. So the problem here is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which is currently on the list, is up against Lilo and Stitch, which my kids want to see. And now I'm fucking torn. And they're like, well, just do it next week. The Karate Kid is the following week. We'll do it next week. Fucking Ballerina is the next week. We'll do it next week. The new Pixar movie, Elio, and How to Train Your Dragon are next week. I'm not getting a break here until the end of June. How do you guys want to handle this?
Oh, I wouldn't be on to do Mission Impossible because I've never reviewed any of those with you guys. So, but I'm assuming if you guys move to Lilo and Stitch, you want me on that one. So,
I mean, if you want to come on. I never stopped you before. It's more of like, right now it goes like this. We've got May 26th is Mission Impossible. My birthday, June 2nd, is Karate Kid. June 9th is Ballerina. June 16th is Elio. June 23rd is How to Train Your Dragon. June 30th is Megan 2.0. There's no fucking room for Lilo and Stitch anywhere.
Oh, wait. You're not going to let me review 28 Years Later? How dare you?
I have a plan. Let me do stuff.
Okay, here's my only possible suggestion about that.
Sure.
I would not be sad about not watching The Karate Kid.
Ouch, that hurts.
Really?
I don't have a deep affection for that franchise.
I was going to do like a Long Road to Ruin and everything, setting it up.
Okay, look, if you have a synergistic week set up and everything,
kinda, yeah.
Don't.
Okay. Wait.
Don't let me stop you.
You guys, did you mention your? I'm sorry. Did you say you're doing Ballerina?
Sure did. June 9th.
Okay, because the week after that, if you guys want to skip How to Train Your Dragon, Zach and I can do another one for Elio, similar to what we did for Garfield, and you can plug in whatever you want to in that place, and we'll just do Elio later in the week.
What makes you think I don't want to go see Elio?
Okay, never mind.
I appreciate the thought, but...
Well, like I said, I'm trying to think of it like when Zach and I did that extra one for the Garfield movie later in the week. So,
I understand that. I didn't want to go see Garfield, though. But this is my problem. This is why I wanted to have this conversation. Like, there isn't anything here I don't want to go see. Or, and my problem is I know what I don't want to go see. I don't want to go see Lilo and Stitch. I would be more amenable to you going, I'll just do Lilo and Stitch on my own with somebody who wants to see it with you. Except my problem is I'm going to end up taking my fucking kids to it.
Because, again, it's like, if it's a kid's movie, I would be happy to do a separate review for you so you don't have to deal with it. But it sounds like all the kids' movies, either you want to do it or you want to be in on it or the kids want to be on it.
So our friend from Mufasa is writing us some messages here. He says Sony Pictures and Paramount film slate this year isn't strong at all. We're well aware of that.
Yeah, you are not wrong, my man.
Is it people going to wait to see Pixar, Elio, on Disney Plus?
Decent chance that's true.
Yeah.
I finally saw a trailer for Elio. Can I tell you? Not exactly impressed.
All right, so here's my thought. Let's throw this in the bed with Madonna and see if she sleeps with it.
Yeah.
These days, the question. These days, it's more how fast can it get out of the bed.
Stop being an ageist. She's a handsome.
No,
woman.
she's not. No,
age, my man.
No, sorry. Did you see her last appearance on Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, she looks. She looks like Ray Liotta now.
Again, not about her age.
Alexis, why don't you do? And I'm just gonna make a mental note of it. I can take my kids to go see Lilo and Stitch when the fuck ever. Like, I might do a double feature with them, like I did with War of the Rohirrim and whatever else I saw, Craven. But I don't have to be part of the review either. So why don't you lead a review of Lilo and Stitch on whatever day you fucking want?
Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to Zach and Mick and Shay, see if they're up for it.
Hey, Robert, do you have any affection for the Lilo and Stitch movie? Like, if you also sit out, do you care?
I would have no problem not seeing that movie.
Problem solved. Moving on. And that takes us all the way through that. We don't need to go back over all that again. So everything else is fine where it is. I will deal with 28 years later in a few minutes. You'll see what I'm doing.
Fair enough.
All right. Jurassic World Rebirth.
Oh,
That's what we needed.
God.
It comes out July 2nd.
Why?
um,
Why?
I know. So we're doing that on July 7th. Superman comes out the 11th. We'll do that on the 14th. There's another I Know What You Did Last Summer coming up. I figured
Again,
we'd do
here we are
that.
desperately holding on to IP rights.
Yeah, but that's on the calendar. And then Fantastic Four. Any issue with July?
I am very tempted to throw my second bomb at the Fantastic Four movie, just for the record.
So, by the way, you asked me what movies do I think will be the
two
most
movies that you
successful.
think are going to be in the top 10.
I'll take an easy one. Jurassic World. People like dinosaurs.
You have more faith in that than I do.
I absolutely think that
Diminishing returns have been a thing for that franchise. The last one did not do well.
No, it didn't. I don't know. I feel like absence will make the heart grow fonder. People, and I think if they make a decent movie, people will come to see it. There's interest at all ages for the Jurassic World stuff. People like dinosaurs.
There used to be.
Moving into August, we've got August 1st. We've got The Naked Gun, so I figured we would do that.
Yeah, it's that or The Bad Guys too, and that's kind of flip a coin.
Okay. So here's my plan. So for August 8th, I don't want to do either one of these. I don't want to do Freakier Friday, and I don't want to do the Battle of Bachton Cross. However, I figured we would do, and I have you on this already, Long Road to Ruin, 28 Days, Weeks, and Years Later. By then, it should be PVOD.
I mean, I'm going to go see it in theater, so.
That's fine, but by then, it'll be PVOD, and we can do it as a Long Road to Ruin like I did with the X Trilogy. That work for you?
Yeah, let me have a quick look at something on that. We are down here. What are you? Well, Thomas Anderson. Filmography. Surprised you're not all in for a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, just for the record.
I miss anything?
Just that I told him I don't want to do the Battle of Bachton Cross. I don't want to do Freakier Friday, so I plugged in. That's how I'm going to deal with 28 years later. I'm going to do it as a Long Road to Ruin like I did with the X Trilogy and Maxine. We'll just do them all at once.
I am willing to go along with that. That does not seem unfair to me.
Okay, so for the next 2 weeks, there's nothing. I don't want to do Nobody 2, and I don't want to do Mercy. But I'm willing to be convinced. And then there's only the only thing right now. Something may get added later. It's too far. We're too far into
we're
the
in
year.
August at this point, so this is all very fluid.
Yeah.
At the moment, nothing's appealing to me. Like lots of things could change between now and then. But as it stands, I'm just leaving those alone as empty weeks. Unless you insist that we do either Mercy or Nobody 2.
I'm more inclined towards Mercy at the moment, but again, we're so far out that I don't feel deeply.
Do you want me to just, soft put it in there and it can always change later?
Yeah, pencil it, but that's a very easy thing to shift around if something better comes out there, and almost anything.
15th. That would be the 18th. I'm not doing the Insidious movie.
No, the diminishing returns on that franchise have been steep.
Doing that.
But hang on. Oh, no, never mind. We haven't got there yet. Okay.
I can't believe they're doing another Conjuring movie.
Once again, we are desperately mining IP.
Alexis, if you've got any kind of special affection for the Freaky Friday movies, if you want to do like a Long Road to Ruin with some other broad or, male in touch with his feminine side.
I'm sorry, and just because I'm a girl, do you think I would want to watch the Freaky Friday movies? No.
Yes, Hocus Pocus.
Kiss my blue cookie.
They're going to say kiss my black ass like Robert Cooper does.
No, seriously though. Handmade Cookie Monster cookies. These things are to die for.
All right, so you're not into the Freaky Friday thing. You could give a shit less. Moving on. All right.
So again,
that brings
the
us to
12th.
September.
I will. Yeah. So what are we? We don't have anything for the first week of September, is my hunch.
No.
So again, something is going there for a bunch of these. It's like, hey, there's 4 movies announced for that month. Like stuff's gonna get pushed there.
Yeah. Yeah. No. For right now, I'm leaving it alone.
Yeah, I'd leave it alone.
I'm not married. I'm not married to Melissa for all intents and purposes, so I'm not doing another Downton Abbey movie. Sorry, Dave.
You are look, I've never seen a single solitary minute of that franchise in any capacity.
There's this movie September 19th called Him from Universal. It's done through.
So again, Mark, I want you to look at the first starring role in that and tell me why we're not going to do it.
Oh shit! Okay, yep. Moving on.
It stars someone called. Move your mouse. Guapad 4000.
Super. All right.
Yeah,
26.
Marlon Wayans. That's all I. The Wayans brothers are terrible.
But wait, there's more. All right. So to the 26th, I figure we'll do Saw 11.
Probably.
We'll do Saw 11 first, and then we'll do The Bride the week after. I haven't put them in yet. You know what? I was waiting to have this conversation. So. Sorry, guys.
You okay?
Just dying a little bit. Okay, so no objections to that. Saw 11. I'll put your name in later. I just want to do this quickly. That's September 29th. And then we've got The Bride a week later. So I want to make sure we got them both in. So we got through the entire summer, and the only one that I said that I thought was going to be a big hit was Jurassic World. I've heard nothing from either of you.
I'm not saying I know what I've already looked through this. I know what I'm going with.
No thoughts. I mean, I don't know if you walked away to deal with the dogs or what, but you're not going to put yourself out there and say Superman's going to be a top 10.
Oh, Superman will definitely be a top 10. No, I'm sorry. Superman came up when I had to go deal with the dog, so I missed it.
Oh, well, give
about that.
Give me 2 minutes on Superman. Go.
I'm sorry. I just took a fucking bite of my cookie.
Stop eating your fucking cookie. I'm finally letting you talk.
Yeah, I'm devoting my mouth to my cookie.
I'm going to skip you then.
No, I'm sorry. I think James Gunn is going to give us the DC universe that we've all been wanting. I am really looking forward to it. I'm excited about the cast. The trailer just filled me with so much joy. I cannot wait.
Cool. All right. Tron Ares, I believe, is the following week. Okay, so
2 weeks, but yeah.
Well, hang on. So the 3rd, I said we were going to do The Bride. I'm sparing you the Michael Jackson biopic. They moved it from the original date that it was, and now I want to do The Bride instead. So just fuck it. Fuck it. If it's nominated for an Oscar, we'll deal with it then. So the following week,
you don't want to do the Dennis Rodman biopic either.
No.
I assume that's what the Rodman movie is there.
Where do you see the Rodman?
Right under Michael.
It says Roof Man.
Roof Man.
Oh, Root. Sorry, I can't.
Roof, as in the roof of a house. All right, so we have Tron Ares is October 10th. That's an easy one.
I mean, it's an easy choice. It's not going to be an easy movie.
Sure. My kid's asking me online at the Tron ride, like, what's Tron about? And I sound like I have Tourette's. Trying to explain it to him.
You could write the screenplay.
All right, Tron Ares. And then we have the Black Phone 2. I assume.
Curious how they're going to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, especially since Ethan Hawke is dead, or his character's dead.
I really wish they wouldn't do this, but, we'll be there to document the continuing decline of film. All right, so the Black Phone 2.
And God help us, the next week is Mortal Kombat 2.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you weren't on the last review.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, it was, she had to get between the two of us when we were screaming at each other.
Yeah, when I was in more dental pain than I cared to admit.
Yeah, remember I talked about how Louis Tan was like, reminded me a lot of Keanu Reeves at the beginning of his career?
And we all kind of went, this fighting game has a roster longer than my arm. Why are you making up a new character?
Oh yeah, we also talked about why we didn't get to see Goro rip a head and spine down. We all agreed that was probably the line that the MPAA said, not a chance.
All right.
And we lamented that Shang-Chi being terrible, and there's only one good fight
So this is one-
sequence. And
this is
yeah.
one of the
Shang-Chi wasn't in the
this is one of the
Shang
changes
Tsung.
from-
Sorry, my mistake. Shang Tsung.
Shut up. This is one of the we're almost done. This is one of the changes from last week that I had to like move stuff around because originally they had the Running Man up against Wicked for Good, and the good people of Paramount finally came to their senses. So they moved it back to the same week as Predator Badlands. So right now the November schedule goes. Wait, what did I do? All right, so there's nothing on the 31st as of right now. So Robert, I roped you into an on trial for Bullworth because I want to talk more about Warren Beatty.
Okay.
the look he just gave you was
Hang on.
one
No,
of,
no, no.
I am plotting your death.
No. You need to understand something. Mark does not invite me to on trial. And there's a reason for that.
All right. So more from our friend here. Universal Pictures saving grace with box office hit will be Jurassic Rebirth and Wicked Part 2. I 100% agree.
Probably.
Mhm.
He said the same thing again. 20th Century Studios Avatar Fire and Predator Badlands will be a success.
For the record, Avatar Ash and Fire is one of my guaranteed top 10s. Like that's
I don't want it to
That's easy
be.
money.
In my
I don't want it.
prime
Hang on. I don't want it to be either, but at some point I have to acknowledge how out of step I am with reality about this.
Yeah, that's easy money.
Yeah.
All right, so
What is Predator's Badlands? What's?
it's.
I mean, I know it's a Predator movie, but
I don't remember. I think it might be the sequel to Prey.
that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, is this because I
Yeah,
saw
sort
Elle
of.
Fanning in there? I was like, wait, so is this another Predators taking place in current times, or are we going with the route they
Okay.
did where it's
Here you go. In the future, a predator transverses on an alien wasteland while two sisters discover their horrifying past.
okay.
Again, we're just throwing another. We got another Predator thing kind of going, so
Yeah.
who knows?
All right. So right now I've got Predator, Predator and the Running Man both come out on the 7th. So we'll do Predator first, and then we'll do the Running Man after that.
Because how in the world is Now You See Me 3 a thing?
Yeah, I have no interest in that.
Hey, Lionsgate, you're stupid.
Oh god, there's Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film. Oh boy.
We have Wicked Part 2, now known as Wicked for Good. Comes out on the 21st, so we'll do that on the 20th.
This would be my other one I feel fairly confident is going to be in the top 10 next year because 2025 is actually kind of weak, believe it or not.
100% agree with you. So we finally don't have a backlog like we did this year with Wicked. So we're going to do it in a timely fashion, which is then followed by Zootopia 2.
I think that's going to be in the top 10.
You're probably right.
All right, so that takes care of that.
If Disney's going to have a saving grace this year, it's going to be Zootopia 2 and Avatar.
All right, so Five Nights at Freddy's comes out at 2, comes out on the 5th. We'll do that on the 8th. There's nothing on the 12th as of right now, but it's a year from now.
Yeah.
We have Avatar that comes out on the 19th.
Again, that's probably going to be your giant hit for the year.
Yeah, and that is the year.
I hate you, James Cameron.
Alrighty. All right.
I'm distinctly disinterested in it, but those movies, they're making $1 billion plus, and you kind of have to go like, okay, until the trends change.
Well, folks.
Yeah, I'm just borrowing your term from now on, which is calling his movies a tech demonstration.
They are. That's really all they are.
We are at 3 hours. All right, folks. That is our year in review and our 25.
Still shorter than The Irishman.
20, still shorter than the fucking Brutalist.
No, we've passed the Brutalist at this point.
That's right. No, 3.5. That's over 3.5 hours. The Brutalist.
Right. You're right. We are still shorter than the Brutalist, technically. Sorry, I did bad math in my head.
Yeah.
I was going to say, although it's hilarious that this is about where we were with last year's. And last year was a combination of our predictions and Rebel Moon. So what's the excuse this year?
We're having fun.
Yeah. I don't want to kill either one of you, which is good.
Woohoo!
All right. Next week, I have to go all the way back to the beginning of my calendar now. Next week we've got Nosferatu on Damn You Hollywood. Alexis is reviewing Hell of a Boss Season 2, Part 2. And then myself and David are finishing up Star Trek Lower Deck Season 5, which I am almost done watching. Robert, what do you got going on?
There's no UFC event this Saturday. So instead, I will be writing up this Saturday and hopefully publishing, assuming anyone bothers to look at my page, my 2024 year-end awards for the sport of MMA. So worst luck, worst fight, breakout fighter, best knockout, best submission, best fight. So be on the lookout for that if you don't mind reading and clicking video clips, because I tend to embed those. Because I know nobody reads, so just scroll down, let the video play, and be happy, and then keep on scrolling. I know you all. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. But Sunday will be the first 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast of 2025. I will preview the UFC's first event. It is ass. It is a terrible fight night card, but I'll preview it because I am a good soldier. That's what I am.
Okay.
So then next week I will talk about it in a bit more detail, because then I'll be marching into the jaws of death for it, and we'll just see how that goes.
Hey, real quick, Alexis, is Spider Noir supposed to come out this year?
Hang on a second, let me double check that.
If it is, I'm a soft yes for that. While she's sorting out her life, last comment here from
Sorry, sorting it and trying to deal with, I don't know why these dogs won't leave me alone. Scheduled. God, give me a freaking release date here, people.
So our friend here says people are waiting for James Gunn's Superman from Warner Brothers film slate this year. My only concern, Warner Brothers' original film's going to bomb at the box office. Yeah, I mean, I'm not real high on James Gunn. I think without him being on a tight leash, he's going to produce nonsense.
He's one of those guys who has a lot good to offer, but when he's unrestrained, it's a little bit dicey.
He needs an adult in the room, and I don't know how many there are around him.
See, I absolutely love what he's been doing with Creature Commandos. I mean, for God's sakes, he has a song. He uses a song by Gogol Bordello, and he actually ends with the characters crashing their concert while they're still singing it. So, he freaking pulled up Dresden Dolls. It's awesome.
So, and then go into your plugs and answer my question about Spider Noir.
There is no date on Spider Noir. They said recording is expected to last through February 2025, but there is nothing about a release.
Just keep me in mind whenever it does come out. I will say this: I don't have a lot of faith in the new Superman movie or anything that James Gunn is doing with his version of DC, but I am willing to be open-minded and optimistic. I will give it a chance, and I will go in tabula rosa, and we'll see how it goes. Alexis, do your plug so we can get out of here.
All right. Yes, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We wrapped up our charity drive, and I want to say thank you to everyone who helped out with that, because we ended up donating $750 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So thank you for that. Of course, we are still in our off season for the conventions. We will be starting up last weekend of February / first weekend of March, where we'll be doing the Paracon here in Kansas City. That's Missouri's Paranormal Convention. We'll be bringing all of our murder mystery clue jewelry to that. In the meantime, you can always find us on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon, putting hopefully a few new things on there pretty soon. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, screw you, Twitter, and TikTok. That's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, guys, this was fun. Longer than I had wanted or anticipated, but I think worth it. I don't feel like it was time wasted. So, for those of you that tuned in, there are people still watching. God bless you.
Thank you all very, very much, man.
Yeah,
we don't know what we did to earn your loyalty, but thank you.
So, we'll see you. We'll see you next week for Nosferatu and for the forthcoming year. Now you know what we're doing until it changes tomorrow. So
again, do not be married to this schedule, people. It's gonna change.
Well, I don't recommend being married at all, but enough about my love life. Ladies and gentlemen, for Robert Winfree, for Alexis Hejna, I have to blow my nose. Be well, be safe, and behave.